You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
how we game.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
Michael.
And I'm William.
And our guest today runs his own YouTube channel, The Christian Adventure Gamer. He plays more dungeon crawls than any person I've ever heard of. His knees are more scuffed from all that crawling than a Smeagol searching for fish in a cavern.
Wow.
Daniel Cervantes. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How does it feel to be skinned knees? Yeah.
How does it feel to look for the precious?
Yeah.
All that dungeon delving you do.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Looking for some treasure.
There you go.
In today's show, as we always do, we talk about games that we played. We want to highlight some of those for you, tell you about our experiences, what we thought about those games. We'll talk a little bit about games that we've purchased, and then we'll get into some side topics about gaming things and non-gaming things, as much as we want to put out there and you want to listen to. So we want to thank you for listening to the podcast. This is the audio version of the show. There is going to be a video recording posted on YouTube of us recording the audio show. You're welcome to check that out, but this is the audio version of the podcast. And we'll start it off here. I'll kick us off with the first segment, which is games we've played recently. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the games that I did touch on, but I'm really only going to highlight one. So I got to play some Pokemon. That was with my 10-year-old son. I originally had tried to learn how to play this and play with my oldest son, who's 18 now, back when he was 9-10 years old, and he just didn't get into it. So it's my first time really getting some more than one game in. And then I also got to play some Cartographers. So it's my first solo game of Cartographers, thanks to last week's episode, I think it was.
We chatted a little bit.
Yep, I think Michael and Rob played Cartographers, so then that got me itching for it. I bought it and played it. And so I'm just getting into that. I'm not ready to highlight the plays of that yet. But what I do want to highlight is Sagrada, which is something I highlighted before. Right? I think I talked about it either last week or the week before last.
You did.
Because I had just got in and got started playing it. But the reason I'm bringing it back up as a topic is because it kind of changed how I feel about it. Right? So Sagrada is a game, lightweight-ish family game where you're building cathedral or stained glass windows for like a cathedral looking stained glass windows using dice. And you're going to have dice that you're going to draft each round, beautiful color translucent dice. You're going to place them onto a pattern in order to score points based on requirements for your pattern. You're going to be looking to score private objectives as well as public objectives that are going to ask for certain dice to be in certain places and at certain numbers. The restrictions are you can't place two dice of the same number adjacent to each other, directly adjacent to each other, and you can't place two dice of the same color directly adjacent to you. So you have some restrictions in the game. And you're also going to have these tools that are available to you that you can use to break some of those rules and help with your drafting. I got the expansion. I think Michael had mentioned the expansion before. And someone mentioned the expansion.
He's got a puzzled look.
I think it was me.
But it got me to buy it.
Yeah. I'm glad.
So, no, Daniel. It was not this Daniel, but Dan.
Wow.
It was Dan Erzik when he was on our show, the Your Turn episode.
That's right. Yeah,
he talked about the expansion, and I bought it, and it gives you a private dice pool. I love that, the private dice pool. So I was giving high marks to the game last time I talked about it, but I took it up to Georgia with me on a recent trip to visit some family. My cousin, who had a child as well, our new babies are all within 3 weeks of each other. Played with them, and they're not big gamers, but they game with me. Whenever they're with me, they game. When they come down here, they game. When we go up there, they game. They're into learning games. I struggled with Sagrada with them. They're both mortgage brokers, right? They have a mortgage brokerage.
Is that a thing?
They're finance people.
Yeah.
AP-ish. And when that AP hit, between the two of them in a 3-player game,
Lord have mercy.
Sagrada can get real AP analysis paralysis.
Well, I'm not playing
Especially
it.
when you're trying to hit those objectives. You're just I cannot put this die here because it's going to ruin everything. And
Right. They didn't want to miss a single objective, the 3 public or their single private.
Yeah.
They want it all. Right. Whereas I give up on 2 or 3 of them and just shoot the moon for one.
Right.
It took you see them. It's frustrating because you see them grab the die that they draft. Then they pick it up and they place it in their pattern.
And the brain
then they
explodes.
say, oh, no, that's not going to work. And then they take it, they go to pluck it out. But when they go to pluck it out, they touch the 2 dice around them and they flip over. And they're like, well, what color was that? What number was that? All right, let's fix that. And then they put the dice back in the draft pool. And then they stare at it again.
Well, you mentioned that previously playing with kids, that the kids were knocking dice around, so it may not just be a kid problem. It's a fiddly problem.
I think it's the overlays, because it's a dual layer overlay where you set your dice in that are designed to kind of hold the dice, to cradle them.
Yeah.
But because the dice are almost
Rounded?
like yes,
Rounded.
Warhammer dice
They're rounded
are
on the
rounded in the corners. They're not like your Yahtzee dice or your like Monopoly dice where they're like solid corners.
But why would they do that? Warhammer dice are rounded because they want it to roll.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the problem is these dice are rounded. So when you push your fingers in to grab another die that's in there, you just effectively rolled all the other dice around, and that just
They should have made them square,
Like,
completely square.
I don't
Or
know.
cube.
I don't know how I feel about Sagrada anymore. Like it just really
Took the fun out of it, huh?
it did. It really
Is
did.
it just because of the knocking the dice around? That's why you don't like it?
The knocking the dice around, the AP,
the AP.
The long turns.
that some people can be prone to.
Well, you should ask Nick how if you played
I
it.
think you just need to play with the right people
Yeah,
then, right?
I think if you played with us, you wouldn't feel that bad.
And they're not heavy gamers, right? So it's not like we're looking at people who are trying to win at all cost. They're just trying to play the game as best they can. So maybe it's not as entry level as I thought. You know, I thought of it as an entry.
I never thought of it as an entry level game, honestly. I mean, because there is a lot of strategy, especially, and you have to know what objectives you want to go for. So I don't know. I would put it probably like right above Gateway game.
You should have brought Power Grid.
So is it considered like a medium weight game?
Medium weight. Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at the BGG just a quick here. It's a 7.5 rating. It's rank overall 155, abstract number 10, family weight or family game 27. So they're placing it kind of as a family. The weight, which I know is highly disputed here on BGG, but the weight rating is 1.93, which is on the light side. It's not a completely light, but anything below a 2.0 is pretty light. Says 30 to 45 minutes.
Not his game.
And designers Adrian Adamescu and Daryl Andrews from Floodgate Games. But I have not played. Have you played before, Daniel? Or
I have not played Sagrada.
Okay, I was going to say, you were being a little quiet on that. I was being quiet, too, because I haven't played it.
I haven't played it either.
I've seen it played. I've watched other people play it at conventions and things, but I have not had a chance to sit down and...
It's a beautiful game.
Yeah, it's nice looking. It's got nice table presence.
Yeah, definitely has table presence.
Yeah, those dice are nice looking dice, even if they're, it sounds like maybe not so functional, being rounded off and rolling around and things.
I had to bring tweezers to Georgia so we can tweeze out the dice.
Come on, man.
some kitchen
You gotta be
tongs to-
exaggerating there. There's no way.
He's got sausage fingers over here, man.
Yeah, well, Carlos is not the most...
Bro, right here.
He's,
Oh,
he's
he
actually
does.
got
My
the
Wargamer
little forceps,
tweezers.
forceps there,
Man, the
yeah.
hands over there.
They're still in the bag from the trip to Georgia.
Yeah, he still got them. Yeah, so...
So I guess for me, the reason I bring Sagrada back as a highlighted game that I wanted to talk about is because it changed my perspective on it. I really thought of it as a lightweight family intro game. Taking it to another family to introduce it taught me maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. So that's my game that I wanted to highlight. And we'll go to Rob, next player.
Okay. Well,
Left of dealer.
Just touch on a few things. I'll briefly touch on a few things that I played, and then I'll get a little more into depth into one. And if we have a chance to come around again, I'll touch on another one. But
Perfect.
Just a quick update on Arkham Horror. Daniel Erdzik and I from Your Turn Board Game Cafe here in the Tampa area in Zephyr Hills. We've been playing, as I mentioned briefly each week, the Arkham Horror. We just started the card game. We started that 4 weeks ago, so we played every Monday for the last 4 weeks. Our intentions is we'd like to kind of start getting in a couple of games a night, although so far we've only been able to do that once. The other 3 weeks we've just played one, but we've started, last week we started the Dunwich Legacy, and we played the first scenario, I'll call it, of the Dunwich Legacy, and it went pretty well. We were pretty impressed with ourselves. It seemed like we did really well on that one, and as anybody who's played much of the Arkham Horror, the card game, you'll know that it can be swingy when you're pulling those little chits out of the bag, and some weeks it just seems like you draw all the pluses and you draw all the minuses. This week, again, we played the second scenario. There's, I believe it's 8 in each one of the full storylines. And so we played the second scenario, the Dunwich Legacy. And again, we did pretty well this time. We avoided the bad guys quite a bit, and we got to our objective. This one was kind of neat. That had some choices at the end that opened up multiple different endings for this one. And they're going to pretty clearly have some consequences going into latter games. So we made a decision, and we were pretty comfortable with our decision. We got a couple of good things we got to write down in our log, and a couple things that seemed pretty ominous that we got to write down in our log. So, but that's the way that this game does. I'm not sure how much if any of y'all have ever played the Arkham Horror series, but just don't want to get too much into depth on that. Again, certainly don't want to give any spoilers, but just wanted to give the weekly update that we're still moving along on that. And there was another little tweak that they did on how you use the cards and how they introduced a little new mechanic in this game, which is definitely keeping it fresh. And so Dan and I are both pretty excited about moving along with the series. So we'll keep bringing that up, and I'll keep touching on that from week to week as we keep plowing through those games. But I did get a chance to meet up with Michael a couple nights ago, and he introduced me to a couple of new games. We met up again over at Your Turn, and I'm going to touch on the second one first. We played 3 games. We got in 2 games of Onitama, which was just a quite quick game, one we both enjoy quite a bit. Just to touch on Onitama just for a moment, it's kind of like a chess light, I would have to describe it, but it's a really neat mechanic, and you get these different cards. Each person has 2 cards, and there's kind of one on the side, and you play a card, and they got different types of movements on them, but you can move any of your pawns or your sensei, your leader.
Pieces.
Yeah, your pieces. You just pick one of them, you move one, and then when you play that card and you do that type of movement, you give that card basically to your opponent. You actually set it on the side, and then when your opponent plays a card, it goes on the side, and then he takes the one that you played last. So you've got this constantly circulating group of cards that have these unique movement styles on them, and you're playing a little chess game. You're trying to either eliminate all your opponent's pieces, or actually trying to eliminate his sensei, his leader, or the other way you can win is to get your sensei across the board into the gateway area of the opponents where their sensei started. So
Way of the Stone and Way of the River.
yeah, exactly. So, and they've got a couple expansions on it that I've got the first expansion, which was just more cards, but they've added a couple more expansions, which do some unique gameplay things that I want to try out. But Michael and I played 2 games of that, which was a good time, and we were just kind of wrapping up the night. We got those in. 2 games that he introduced me to, though, he taught me, were Fantastic Factories. That was my first play ever of that, and if we get a chance on the comeback, I'll get a little more into depth on that. But that was a fun game, and I think Carlos would enjoy that quite a bit, and I keep forgetting the name. What is the game that you enjoy? It's the marbles where you're trading in different colors of marbles. Gizmos. There you go. For some reason, I have a mental block about that game. I can't remember the name, but this is right up the.
So we'll bring that up in the round 2.
Okay, there
of
you
what
go.
we've played.
Yeah, we'll hit that. So we'll get into more in depth. But the one I really wanted to jump into a little bit was This War of Mine, the board game, which was Michael's original intent, I think, of trying to get a game of that in. So when I got up there, he was already in the process of getting that set up, and that was my first play ever of This War of Mine. And that is it's funny, Daniel was like, oh, y'all are looking to get depressed tonight, huh? You're just looking to get beat down. And so that's every time somebody brings up this game, that's what all I hear about it. And so I was mentally prepared for it. It was I know William asked me tonight, he was like, oh, was it as depressing as I hear? And I won't say it was as depressing. I mean, it's definitely a pretty hard.
That's because he wasn't playing the game.
Hard
the
theme.
video game is
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah. There's
Yeah, we really didn't hit on a lot of. I don't want to cut in.
Oh,
too
go ahead.
much.
No, jump in.
I was just going to say that we really didn't hit too many parts out of the journal that we read from. That there are some pretty brutal.
Oh, are there?
I mean, some pretty graphic parts within the journal that are pretty descriptive, and it's.
So maybe I got
ahead.
lucky.
I don't want to interrupt.
Oh no, that's fine. That's it. And I definitely step in because you've played it more than I have. So my first, I mentioned at the end. Let me just jump to the end of the game that we didn't do well. I mean, but from what I hear from people, you don't usually do well in this game. But I did not like the way that it ended, and it was very abrupt. So I guess every game you start with 3 characters. I can't remember. It's not random. You actually pick the 3 characters that you want to start, or is it random?
No, it's random.
It is random.
You pick
Okay.
your leader, whoever is the red bordered card, and then you pick 2 more that have the black border around
And a supporting
them. That's your
cast.
starting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you can meet other people and gain people in your group. We didn't have that a chance when we played, or at least it wasn't apparent that we had that chance anywhere. but the game ended very abruptly. We felt like we were doing, or I felt like we were doing pretty well, and I was like, "Oh, this."
I thought we were doing okay. We were holding our own there.
Yeah, and I was like, "Man, this game's not as bad as people have been saying." And we got about 3 or 4 rounds into the game, and then it's like all of a sudden we hit the wall. So we had one character who we were kind of giving all the damage and stuff to.
Anton is
I think it was Anton. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he was the one. We were making him guard every night when we went out and scavenged and things, and he was guarding the base. So
do that.
it was better than spreading the damage around because we figured if we lost one character, that's fine. We'd have 2 other strong characters. But the theme and the storyline is what I didn't realize was going to smack us like it did. And so, make a long story short, the one character that we were putting bad stuff on, once he finally took his last, I think it was bit of damage or whatever, we had to read a passage
Misery.
in the book.
It was misery.
Okay, we got his misery maxed out. So we read the passage in the book, and I believe Anton he committed suicide. Correct?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Dude, the game is
he did.
dark.
This is
dark and deep.
He committed suicide, and so then when he committed suicide, it told us that we had to put misery on the other characters. Well, that tipped the second character over their max number.
Yes.
And so when that happened, they committed suicide. And then when we did that, it had us put a third misery on the other character, and then the other character, I guess, she was sold off into
she left to try and make it back home, and then she was
captured
and became
and
part of the human trafficking
ring. Yeah, she was.
This is a game.
Yeah,
the game is pretty realistic, and I will say this: you got to put a little caveat on it. I mean, I know the video game took a percentage of the profits and gave it to a lot of war, the people affected by war.
'Cause I think Daniel, you do. What's your occupation again? It's
I'm a therapist.
right.
Oh, boy, yeah.
I'm watching you over there, thinking, man, this is not the kind of game you.
No,
we might need some therapy now after this game.
There is
I'll give you my number. I'll schedule
I hate
you.
it.
yeah, there you go. We might need it.
I don't want to butt in, but when I played the video game, I was like, oh, it looks cool. Graphic looks great. And I played it, and I was like, I think I need to see somebody.
Yeah,
It's a rough game.
It got because my character got hooked on cigarettes, and then they got hooked. They started eating the mattress.
Oh, well.
My characters just it just
Daniel's like, I work all week.
Yeah, this is an escape. This is board gaming. This is not work. But
I will say this, that I did the same thing you did. And video game was like, oh, well, this guy's got the most energy. He's the most athletic. You're on guard duty. You're on guard duty. You're on guard duty. You're on
Right, and
guard
that's
duty.
tough because
and then after the 5th or 4th night, he said, you know what? And he just left. In the video game, he just left. In the middle of the night, he left, and then you hear gunshots.
Yeah.
But isn't that like real life though? Like
How does it make you feel?
you see people that you think they've got it together, so you think you can push them harder, right? Even as a boss, right?
Now I want to play the game. I want to play the game now. I want to play the board game. Now.
I do not want to touch
I do want to
this.
play it because I have perspective.
Let me ask Daniel, have you played this one?
I have not.
You have not. and you probably don't want to at this
Doesn't sound
point.
like he's going to either.
I might just watch people play so we can be their assistant with anything.
Yeah, you can be there for him. You can give out business cards or something.
I think I'm going to go and install it again on Steam and give it another try.
Robert, are you willing to play this again? Like it was fun.
I would play it again. And
Really?
Yeah. Again, the thing I said, and again, Mike, as I said it probably 4 times that night, but Dan and Michael both laughed at me every time I said it. Is I enjoyed the game, but the ending was so abrupt, and I would hope that future games don't end that way. That we were doing well, like I said, we were thinking, all right, well, this one guy, Anton's not doing good. We're just going to ride that horse until into the ground.
This what tells me you weren't doing well.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
You weren't.
and
You thought you were
the other
fine.
2 were doing all right, and then but when Anton went off the cliff, it was like that was
'Cause you pushed him off the cliff.
Yeah. But affected the next one. Affected the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, our problem was that the other 2 members in the group, their misery was already halfway.
Yeah.
And it just kind of
Like
'cause
pandemic, an
I've
outbreak,
played this
popping
game.
an outbreak, popping an outbreak.
Right. I've played the game multiple times. I still have never won the game. It's a very hard game to win,
Oh, yeah.
obviously. But I've had it where one person either leaves the group or because they don't all commit suicide. I mean, there are some that just leave group, and actually there are some happy stories.
Yes, they are.
And some people do make it home. This is during a wartime. So you're trying to get through this riddled street of military but the way that our game ended, I have not had a game end that abruptly.
Yeah, but
I think it was just because we weren't managing the misery of the
Now,
characters.
was it
enough.
because you guys were playing it like a game, or maybe if you played it as a story, maybe done better. I don't know.
Maybe if Rob had a heart.
No. And again, that wasn't it. I mean, you either spread it all out and make them all go downhill, or again, strategically we figured, well, like I say, if Anton, we're gonna keep him. His stats were better and were more suited for the guard duty. So it's like we kept putting him at guard duty. We kept sending everybody else out to scavenge and do other things. And so I think we made the right choice. It's
obvious it wasn't. I mean, like by the out result.
Well, I mean,
Clearly it wasn't.
Thank you, Daniel.
we played the best that we could.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
I think so.
And plus, Anton was a coffee fiend.
I was going to say he was addicted to coffee.
I was wondering. I was like, who's
His
addicted?
misery went down.
Whoever's addicted to something usually has got some issues.
So when we scavenged, every time we scavenged, if we didn't find coffee when we were scavenging, he would take a misery at the end of every round just because he didn't have his coffee. So
Yeah.
See, okay, I get the feels of the Grizzled.
a little bit, yeah.
times 10.
Because
setting a little bit.
the Grizzled is a game set in World War One, where your goal isn't to win, your goal is to survive the trenches of World War One, and you work cooperatively in it. And that game made me so depressed, and it's nowhere near theme or story or anything. It's just a flat out card game that you're doing things together to try to get this group of World War One French soldiers, I believe, surviving the trench warfare, right? And it left me feeling depressed, sad, and like angry because you can really never win. Everything's a bad choice or a bad choice. Pick one. Which one do you want? You want to be sad?
Yeah, exactly. Just like life, you got to manage those bad decisions. Yeah,
and I didn't like it. I own it because it's a good game.
Yeah,
I just don't like the feels that I got out of it. I'm staying away from this game.
I've only won one game out of like maybe 70.
The Grizzly.
I don't think I'll ever play this war of mine. We won, Robert, didn't we? We were the only ones that won at CMON Expo.
What, the Grizzled?
The Grizzled?
The Grizzled in our first play.
Did we?
In our first play.
I don't recall, but yeah, I would play this War of Mine again. I'd like to try it again, and it's heartening to me to hear you say, Michael, that they don't usually end that abruptly because, like I say, we felt like we were doing all right there, and I was like, this isn't so bad.
But
yeah,
it's very similar to Robinson Crusoe.
Okay,
you think you're doing okay, and then that one storm comes in, and then you're going downhill from there.
Yeah,
not as dark.
So just to touch on,
no, it's not nearly as dark.
Just touch on the BGG stuff on this one, and then I'll pass.
Rob's got to give us our BGG.
Oh, yeah,
stats.
BGG. So it's got a 7.8 rating. The overall is 151. Thematic is number 37. So it's got some strong.
That's pretty
theme
good.
There. Yeah. So we got 45 to 120 minutes. Weight of 3.27, and publisher Awaken Realms. Designers Michael Oratz and Jacob Wazaneski.
Awaken Realms? Is that the one people do Nemesis?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah, but that's
this was actually the first Kickstarter board game I ever backed.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So,
and you regret every second.
No, he's trying to get his money out of it.
That's
no matter how
the downfall.
No matter how many antidepressants he has to take afterwards, he's going to get his money out of it.
Yeah. But I'll hand it off to you, Michael. What have you been playing?
Okay.
What do you want to highlight, Mike?
Well, other than the games that Rob and I played, I'll highlight the one game that I started playing last night, which is Under Falling Skies.
Cool.
So it's a solo-only game that is, if you could picture, kind of like your own personal Space Invaders. So you have like a city that you're trying to defend. You have this mothership that's dropping these smaller ships down, depending, and it's a dice chucker. I'm going to try and explain it the best I can without visuals. But you create this very vertical board. You have the mothership at the top, you've got your base at the bottom, and then you have kind of like an underground base, almost like XCOM, if anyone's familiar with that.
Yep.
So you have 5 dice that you can roll, 3 gray, 2 white. This is like the very basic one. There's three parts to every round. So you're going to chuck your dice, and then you're going to place them. There's 5 columns, and you're going to place the dice in the columns where you can use them. So there's different things that you can do, like you can research. The main part of the way that you win the game is you have to get your research track all the way to the top before either your base gets hit enough, like loses all its health points, or if the mothership makes it all the way to a certain area on the vertical map. So in your base, you can like research, you have like your fighter jets that kind of shoot down the smaller ships if they're on like the little explosion spaces. But anyway, wherever you're placing these dice, that's how many spaces the little spaceships are coming down in that column. And then you have like certain things that they land on a certain space. Sometimes it'll move them over to the left or the right one space. But so you're doing that the first part of the round. Second part of the round is you're going to activate your dice in your base. So whether you're researching or you're shooting some of the ships down, or you have like a little excavator that digs deeper down into the ground and opens up more areas of your map. So you do those actions, and then you have the mothership that moves down one space. The mothership will take its action that's like next to the mothership. Sometimes it's adding like a new little ship to them, or it moves your excavator back a certain number of spaces, or pushes your research down a space. But the thing with the dice is you roll your dice, and every time that you place a white die on your board, you have to re-roll all your other dice. So it can hurt you, or it could be beneficial, because you may get a bad roll, and you may want to put like one of your white dice down a little more ahead of time than the gray ones, just to try and get a better roll. So I've played it, I think 3 or 4 times now. Every single time I'm getting more of the rules right, because the first time I played it, I mean, I was way off on the. I even watched a video on how to play it, and I was just like, this is such a simple game.
That's what I was in my mind. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was the rule book or the way that it, because I think I'm usually okay with rules, but I went through the rule book. I'm like, okay, this isn't too hard. And then, I went back to the beginning of the rule book, and I'm playing the game, going through each round, like all the steps that you're supposed to be doing through each round. And I placed all my dice the first time, and then moved all the ships, where you're supposed to only place one die, move the ship in that column, place another die, move the ship in that column, which made more sense once I was doing it right. But I played again tonight. I think I got all the rules right. I'm pretty sure I did, but it is a very hard game to win. And I'm on like the basic stuff. So in the box, you have like different towns. So the basic one is like you start with Roswell. And each town has an asymmetric power if you want to flip it over to that side, which also changes like your base configuration. And you can flip parts of the vertical sky part to the other side, which also makes it harder. So you have these varying degrees of hardness for the game that you can make it. That's just the basic part. Then you have like a legacy part of the game, where they tell you, like, don't open up this part of the game. Like, don't dig this deep into the box until you're ready to start playing the scenarios. And it's like I think it's 4 scenarios that you play in order. So one carries over to the next, to the next, to the next. And they're all like bundled up, so you can't really see what's going on. So now that I'm going to play one more game, and then I'll start getting into the legacy. It's not legacy, but scenarios that carry over. Because I'm interested to see, because it looks like they have sky pieces, and then you're supposed to write down like what happens at the end of that round and carry it over to the next one.
It's like a little campaign.
So like a little 4-mission campaign setup. So I'm pretty interested to see how that goes. And this has been on my shelf of shame for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months probably. And I'm glad it hit the table, but it's like one of those games. Very frustrating that I got the rules wrong this many times, but I think I finally got the hang of it.
Got it ironed out. Yeah.
I would not have thought this game was that complex. I keep seeing pictures of it. I just think of Space Invaders.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to pew up the... Anybody else play this one? I've not.
I haven't played it yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
It looks pretty.
Yes, it looks pretty.
Yeah, it's a nice game to look at. Yeah. And the components are nice too. They're wooden. I like wooden dice.
Yeah.
They tend to roll a little bit more. They have very rounded edges, so they get a nice
Oh,
good
well, it's
roll
not for you
on
then.
them.
It's not for Carlos. He'll knock him
Sausage
over.
fingers.
He'll knock him over.
Where's my forceps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get some salad tongs.
Otherwise, I like it. I definitely will continue playing it until at least I get through the scenarios.
I keep eyeballing it because it reminds me of Space Invaders, but
Yeah.
Were you good at the game? No.
no.
You're not going to be good at this one.
No.
You probably mentioned it already. It's solo only. It's just a 1-player game.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, it's not even co-op. It's solo only. I mean, I guess you could play co-op if you wanted to decide on, where to place the dice, but that's still one base. That's it.
Yeah, it's people have been raving about it as far as a one-player game. I saw it on everybody's top 10 list last year, 2020, for best one-player games. A lot of people had it right up near the top of their list. So, yeah, I'm not much of a solo gamer, so I don't know how often, but I'd like to try it sometime just to see the mechanics and see how it works.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool.
And I'll teach it to you the right way.
Yeah. So it's better that
we appreciate that.
So yeah, better that you've been through it 3 or 4 times now, and you can teach me. Yeah,
Kind of how we did with Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah,
Let you
exactly.
muddle through it, and then you can teach.
exactly.
Have you played that yet?
He has not.
No.
We were just talking about it for the
alright.
show. Yeah.
Well, maybe Saturday.
I heard you beat Robert.
Yeah. He beat me and Dan. I think both.
Well, I mean, I did have a number of games under my belt at that time, and I didn't lose a number of resources every round like I did when I was playing with you.
Yeah,
A little more efficient.
I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
blind luck that I was like, man, I'm doing pretty good. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I usually not this. I think I attribute that to like the way work has been treating me. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Like I
Kind
have
of
to
fell into it.
I have to do this to make this and make this work and make this work and this work. What are you doing? You know, I do that every day now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, anyway.
Daniel, how about you? School coming back in session up in Indiana?
Yeah, so tomorrow is the first day of school. So today we had like meet the teacher night. Like my son is starting kindergarten this year.
Oh boy.
My daughter Alex, she is a junior this year.
Oh wow.
So
Cool.
What about gaming wise? How does that fare with end of summer, beginning of school?
actually, I think this is about the time of year where I actually get more games to the table.
Really?
Because during the summer I'm doing more yard work. I'm tending to the house and stuff. So when the kids go to school, it gives me a little more free time when I'm here.
Not so bad.
And so during the summer, Alex also goes with her mom half the summer, and then she's with me, so back and forth. So when she's here, obviously she helps out a lot.
All right. So what games do you want to highlight, or what game do you want to highlight that we played?
Well, I just got a game in Tuesday, and so it's a big, huge game. Like I say big, huge, I mean like this box is like monsters, right?
Oh yeah.
It's Descent: Legends of the Dark.
Yep.
I saw that video of the
And so-
unboxing on your channel. That I think I mentioned it in the introduction. Daniel runs Christian Adventure Gamers on YouTube, and he does lots of dungeon crawls and campaign style games and fantasy games. And you posted up that unboxing, so I've been looking forward to hearing about this one. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right, so like you might not know this, but I actually got the opportunity to beta test a lot of Descent Second Edition
Oh.
through Fantasy Flight.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
I have a really good history with Descent. And so I understand this is not Descent Third Edition.
All right.
However, as I'm going through it and stuff, I'm wanting to love this game, but there's just so many discrepancies in my heart. I'm looking at the artwork. I feel like maybe they just didn't want to pay somebody because the art is
Horrible.
not what I would want to see.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the tiles and things like that, and it's like they just not have a graphic designer or what, So I'm taking my time with this because, like I said, I really want to love it. I want to enjoy it. I went through the rule book today. I was looking at like how some of the mechanics work and stuff. Straightforward, and so with the 3D terrain that I have to put together. So like today I started putting some together, made a video, uploaded it and stuff, because I figure people want to see what they're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
Or what are you getting into?
Right. And so this game is a hefty game as far as price. Like I think retail's $170.
Yeah.
I think I paid close to $140 for it, and I traded in a bunch of my Magic the Gathering cards to help pay for it and stuff.
No.
And a second born
it comes with
child
these-
and
Sign mortgage
like
on your
a pint
house.
of blood, my kidney.
Yep.
So, but like just that terrain, like I also backed like Ultra Quest, and Ultra Quest didn't.
I heard that's
think
a big
cost
game.
about the same, but I got tons of miniature terrain, like, and it's just like the price difference is like that's what they're trying to sell you on as a 3D terrain, which is I do believe is interactive, and so. But I think they could have done the same thing with 3D, plastic models.
Once you assemble the
I'm-
terrain, does it all fit in the box? Do you think it'll all fit in the box when it's staying assembled?
So far everything is. The one thing I'm questioning is there's like a bone dragon.
Dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
saw
put
that.
Together. Like that's gonna be the last thing I put together, and I'm gonna see how everything else goes.
is that the cardboard dragon that I've seen online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see the picture here, but like there's like a setup or steps to put it together.
It kind of reminds me of like those puzzles you buy at like the museums, right?
Oh, Mosey.
Those 3D puzzles.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Mosey,
And I don't
yes.
know how big this thing is gonna be. So like obviously right now I got the archways, I got tables, cauldron, the well, and things like that in the box set up. And so as I'm building them, I'm trying to put them in the box, see how they fit.
Yeah, I think I had heard somewhere. This is the one where they have like a little cavern in the box where all the stuff can go into. And I had heard that they're advertising that everything does. Once you build everything, you can just kind of throw it in there. You don't even have to jigsaw puzzle it. So I'll be curious to hear back from you on whether it actually works as they're advertising.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm curious. Does it fit in one of those? What's it we call it? Calyx shelving.
Calyx chefs. Yeah.
Calyx. Does it take one whole?
Yeah, I
Does
think
it
the
take?
box-
Does it take like one whole cube? It doesn't even fit in there.
Oh, it's not gonna fit in that.
Oh no!
What?
Jeez.
It's like
That's the
Absolutely.
worst.
here's half the
Where's
box,
that?
right?
Fail.
This is one half of the box that's in the other side of the box.
That's like a game right
And then we
there.
have this is the bottom of the box.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the top of the box.
Okay. All right.
So when you
all
have
right.
these things together,
All right. The terraforming Mars Kickstarter.
Where'd you go, Daniel? Where'd you go?
He's hidden.
He's behind the boxes.
Wow.
So for you folks at home, the listening on the, I mean, this box is big. This is
Now, Mike, you got the Terraforming Mars Kickstarter with the new tiles and everything, right?
the big box.
Okay, I got that. That fits in the shelf.
Yeah.
And that's big. So I can imagine the size of this thing.
William, I gotta say, I agree. Like designers or what do we call it? Development of games, people who develop that need to understand that we all generally buy this shelving system.
That's right. Universal.
You know, it's so not cool to have games that just don't fit in there.
Yeah.
now there's a chance it might, but I think it's going to be a tight squeeze because
All right, we'll look forward to the YouTube video on your channel to answer that question for us. Now, what? Okay, so you've done the unboxing, you've done assembly, so you're prepping for play. You've read the rules. Have you gotten a game in yet?
not yet, but I've been messing with the app just to see.
Poking
what
around
I'm
in the
gonna
app.
get into. Yeah, and again, I run into the same. The artwork, I'm not a fan of the artwork.
Are you getting like more excited as you play with the app to play it, or is it how you feeling?
I wish folks can look at his face.
So when you first open the app and you start a new story, like there's a lot of dialogue between the characters.
That's what I've heard.
A lot of dialogue between the characters.
Yep.
So like you have to go through a lot of dialogue before you can even start playing.
Wow.
Yep.
And like I just want to get in and play.
Yeah, I know. I just heard. I think it was Tom.
Yeah,
might have
Tom
been Tom,
Vassell did a very
in depth.
because he's a guy who loved first edition. He
Second
loved,
edition.
Oh, yeah,
he
second
loved
edition,
First,
yeah.
He loved second edition.
Second,
He
yeah.
loved it, and then he just like, I don't know what to do with this. It's what that's feeling I got. Like he just said, there's so much reading and so much dialogue, and then
Yeah.
you go and you do a little bit of play, and then more dialogue and more reading.
And I think Rob Oren was saying on yesterday he had a big forum where it was just open and he had asked people to call in and he had people on, I think through Skype or whatever. He was Skyping with people and was chatting live with people on the air.
That's a pretty cool idea. I wish
he was
somebody
saying-
would come up with a show like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. And then he was saying that he feels that they spent way too much time on the train and stuff. He's like, the train is very cool, but he's played I think he said 30 hours now of the game.
Wow.
And he said that 80% of literally 80% of what you're doing is in the app. And he says that the table presence of it is really cool, but it blows him away that they spent so much time on all this terrain, on the minis. He said the minis, he's a minis guy, and he said the minis in this game are a waste because they're just there to kind of like be placeholders on the table, but you're actually playing 80% of the game in the app. And so he said it feels like you're just playing an app, basically, and then every now and then you're moving something around on the table. And he said they put so much energy and so much effort into what you're seeing on the table, but it's only 20% of the game experience. So that idea bothers me. And he spent 30 minutes talking about how he now feels like his father. He feels like I'm the old crotchety guy. It's like get your app out of my game or whatever. He goes. I never would have thought I would have gotten to that point. But he said I'm 60 something now, and he goes, I'm starting to think that I am the old guy now who doesn't like technology. I can't keep up with the kids or whatever. He said, but this game, he said it's too much digital and it's not enough board game.
I mean, I'm a technology guy. I wouldn't mind playing the game with that, but to me, that looks like they're trying to fit D&D in a box, but take away your imagination. Like here's an app. You got to do whatever this thing says, and you read and read and read and read, and the character's saying you have no choice. You can't even. That's it.
Daniel, when you're listening to the audio or the dialogue, are you doing like in the video games where you pick how to respond, or are you just going along for the ride?
I heard that
It's
sometimes
kind of going along for the ride.
It's
So,
linear.
like, different parts in the app, like there's an overture, someone talking, but in those parts where there's the dialogue, you have to read it. Like, it would have been awesome if they would just had a voice reading
Narrated.
that stuff in different voices. You know,
for
like,
$170 they should have recorded audio.
yeah. So I believe that the price tag has to do with the app because the app is free unless you probably get it on Steam.
Yeah.
The price tag's going to have a lot to do with the
For
app.
that development.
Yeah, true. And upkeep on the app. I mean, if there's any bugs or anything, you got to have somebody that's upkeeping on it.
But what about the other games like Fantasy Flight came out that they up
Lord of the
apps?
Rings.
No, they've kept up with their apps
Right,
well.
but the price point is not that high either, though, for those games. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not something they're different.
Imperial Assault, Mansions of Madness,
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Yeah, but even
You
those
don't get
games, as
many
large as they
miniatures in these
are,
games you think you would.
Say that again?
You don't get as many miniatures in this game as you think you would.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah.
It's not chock full of minis like a CMON
You
box
get,
set?
like, a lot of the same minis.
Wow. See,
4 of 1, 3 of 1.
I've heard they're pretty well done, though. I mean, do they?
They are.
Yeah.
They're
Okay.
sharp.
They're Fantasy
very,
Flight.
very
They should
pointy.
be well
Like, I
done.
stabbed
Sharp.
myself in the-
Not a
Yeah.
description, but like an actual like poke you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
real.
actually, I've heard that
there's
physically,
One
yeah.
guy with a spear that I stabbed myself in the thumb.
Yeah.
First blood.
Yeah.
so it almost makes it. Do you? All right. Do you paint your minis when you play a game? When you play
I
board
do.
game? Okay. Would you paint these if after a few games in a session, like what Rob says, only 80% of it, 80% is in the app and 20% is table presence?
I would paint it after I play it and decide if I want to keep it.
Okay. Yeah.
okay, that's an honest.
That's fair.
What's the
I don't
plan
spend
for the
my
play?
time on something
When's
like-
that? When are you planning to get that play in?
I'm hoping within the next week. That's kind of my plan.
Yeah.
I put the bell on your channel because I'm watching.
So, yeah, we'll need
you.
to hear back from you on that for sure. Yeah.
I rang the bell on your YouTube channel, the Christian Adventure Gamer, because I'm following for specifically this.
Carlos had pre-ordered a
Yep.
copy, and then he canceled his pre-order. Now he's having second thoughts. He's thinking about going back and getting.
I
it
think
again,
I was a
so-
little at fault with that because I was gonna go in it too, and I was like, oh, I want to play.
Yeah, but when you started pointing me to different reviews, and I was like,
pointed-
oh, I'm a little worried.
I was just like, you know what? I don't know what they're doing with this.
And Kill Team's coming out with a whole new edition, so that's going to be a few hundred there. It's like I got to make decisions.
I would say this, Daniel, if you can do this, at least for me, give it after you read the rules and get all squared away where it is on your chart, and then after you play a game, if you can rate it again, like what you went in with the
a certain mindset.
I'm going in thinking this game's gonna be an 8, and then after you play, it's like maybe it's still an 8, maybe it's not. That's what I'm interested in because
make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's Christian Adventure Gamer.
And see, my question to you, Daniel, is when you normally play games and you're kind of like on the fence, how many plays do you normally give something before you're like, I like it or I don't like it?
Probably at least 3, 4, 5. It depends on the size of the game.
Okay, so it's an honest. You're giving it an honest.
Oh yeah. So when I do a review, I actually give a lengthy review of something.
Okay,
And
all right,
sometimes
cool.
it's not that great because I'm talking about the flaws and things I don't
Well, you
like.
got to be honest, yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right, well, that's good. I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on it then, considering you have so much dungeon crawling experience.
Well, I was going to touch on that as well before we get completely off the dungeon crawlers. The one I've been hearing a lot about just the last week or so, and I don't know if you know anything about it or if you've had a chance to look at it or play it at all. Chronicles of Drunagor. Have you any familiarity with that one?
It's on my radar.
Okay.
But with me paying for this,
Oh,
and
yeah,
some
yeah.
other things that are coming in,
Yeah.
100.
my
That's a
bank
lot of
says
money.
no.
Yeah, that's another probably close to $200 game, but I'm hearing great things about this one. And Tom just gave it a real good review on Dice Tower. They have it at the Your Turn, a board game cafe. When Michael and I were playing cartographers and or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Cartographers. It was the last week when we were playing this War of Mine and Fantastic Factories. There was a couple, male and female, at the table behind us playing Chronicles of Drenagor, and Dan said that they had been there all day and they learned the rules that morning, and they played, I think, the first 3 scenarios in the campaign, and they were
like 9 hours they were there.
Yeah, they were raving about it. They were saying that they really liked it, and I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about this. So I'm thinking, I think I may have to pull this out over your turn.
A campaign game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I like campaign. I love campaign.
He likes
games.
campaign games. He just doesn't want the theme.
I don't want the theme. I just want the mechanics. But,
Yeah, he wants to.
I love my campaigns though. I love playing games that go and go and go.
This is why we're beans and dice. He counts beans.
Yeah, exactly.
And I roll dice.
Exactly. Keep me away from the dice. But okay, I just had to ask about that one because I'm hearing so much about that one. But that's one I think I'm going to look into. Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel, the Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle Earth. Have you had play with that one?
Yes, I have. I played with my brother. He has it.
So Rob and I did the whole campaign. This is the one thing that makes me kind of okay with wanting to buy Descent 3rd edition, as we don't call it, because although I didn't love Lord of the Rings, the Journeys in Middle Earth, I felt they did a great job with the app and the story and kind of how that story developed and over time. I don't know, man. I don't know what I'm asking here, but I want to know your perspective as you play it. Is this an improvement on the Lord of the Rings system, which I liked, didn't love? If it is an improvement, it might be something I love. So think about that as you evaluate your plays of Descent.
Mm-hmm. And so I can't say much on it now because I haven't really played it, but I know that I enjoy that system. I mean, I don't mind using an app. I think it's great. Have you ever played the Road to Legends?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got some of the DLCs.
Carlos and I have played that. Yeah.
And then even the Star Wars, what is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Imperial
Assault. Imperial Assault.
Yep.
Yeah. And so when an app is done right, the gameplay is very smooth. So if you look at Mansions of Madness,
Yeah.
Yep, that
is
as well.
Very smooth gameplay.
Yep. We enjoyed that
I
one.
love that game with the app.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I like the 1st edition, but I love the 2nd edition because the app makes it so smooth. And so I don't want to be bogged down. And I'm afraid this app is going to bog down with all the story arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I play video games, I'm the guy that's mashing like start A, X to try to skip all the dialogue because I want to get to touch something. I want to go,
Right. The thing that really bugs me, and I said this before, is the art. Like, I've spent a lot of time.
Really that bad, though?
Oh, dude. Oh.
Come on. Is it really that bad?
It's very stylistic.
I like
So
it.
I will say that. I mean, some people may enjoy it. I can understand.
Just show him the picture of the elf.
No, I've seen the elf.
Oh, okay. I'm
The
sorry.
elf looks like a meth head. I get it.
Yeah. It's
Right.
weird.
It's
I don't know if you can see this.
all right. So that's the terrain you're showing us.
Yeah.
And-
You see how basic it looks?
Yeah.
It looks like they didn't give a damn.
Yeah.
And in the 2nd edition, the train looked like terrain.
Did you just toss it?
Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
just toss it behind you?
It's not even worth it.
I don't care. Like, whatever.
Okay. All right. We'll get your full on
My-
review.
my
We don't
daughter
want to
could
beat
be
this dead horse, but
Yeah. Let's
but I think it's
move it along. Yeah.
most of us are very excited to hear about how this one. Like we're all
Yeah.
really watching.
Yeah. Check back with us.
This is big.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, I want to love this game. I want to.
And we do too. I mean, I think both Carlos and I, we've spent enough time with 2nd edition. We played it. We didn't play it for a long, long time, but we dug into it pretty deep there for a little while.
First edition. You
Yeah.
asked
I had 1st edition
He said
and
both,
2nd
yeah.
edition, so we
played
transitioned
second.
both.
Yeah, yeah. And we enjoyed
I
it.
had 1st edition, never got a chance to play it.
Yeah.
I had to sell it.
I bought it at Armada because they had one left right before 2nd edition came out. But the big old coffin box, the old ones you can like put a toddler inside.
Wow.
It's big.
Yeah. It was huge, yes.
Yeah. This guy's choice of
All right, William, what game do you want to highlight?
I haven't played nothing.
Oh, there we go. That was easy.
All right, on to the next segment.
Unfortunately, I just spent my weekends literally just toned out. I toned myself out. I play a lot of solo video games.
So round 2 is going to be quick because I've got no more games to highlight.
Yeah.
So we'll pass round 2 to
Well,
Robert.
then I'll bring up again Fantastic Factories. That's the one I just kind of wanted to touch on, and I know again I wanted to get into that because I think this is a game that you would like. And Michael, you said you've never played
Gizmos.
Gizmos.
Man,
again,
no,
I've got a
I
block
haven't.
against that
He's
game. So
old.
yeah, you
He's
never
old.
played Gizmos.
I'll
Yeah.
talk
I'm
about
going to
it,
write it
though.
down right here. But yeah, So I'm the only one, I guess, that's played both. Unless Daniel, have you played either or both of these games?
I have not.
Okay, so I'm the only one that's played both. I find Fantastic Factories to be a little lighter than Gizmos.
Really? Because Gizmo's pretty light.
Right, and in Fantastic Factories, Gizmos, there's a lot of churning. There's a lot of, I'm doing this to do that.
So for you
to
folks
catch
at
this
home, because Rob's talking about the beans, like what you're doing,
Yeah.
counting beans. I'm going to talk about the dice, the theme of it. In Gizmos, you're building robots. You're building machines, right? And you're
yeah.
using energy to power these machines. And it's an engine builder. As you build a machine that does stuff to give you energy,
AKA marbles.
Marbles. You get to get more colored marbles, which are energy to build bigger machines. And you get more points with the bigger machines. So
Cards.
your machines will do stuff to give you energy, right? The machines produce energy. You use that energy to buy bigger machines.
I'm going to interpret
So
you.
it's-
marbles.
That's Robert. That's all he's thinking
what I would
about
do.
is
Marbles. Cashing in one color marble for a different color marble.
No, I'm converting like nuclear energy into heat energy, and then using that to power a
Blue marbles to red
stapler
marbles to yellow
attached
marbles.
to a television.
Exactly.
Anyway, carry on, Robert.
Fantastic Factories is I think it's shorter overall, although they're probably fairly even game length. Neither one of them are long
About
games.
45 minutes.
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes at the most, I'd say, for Fantastic Factories. Probably closer to 30 if you're really getting into
Is
it.
it kind of the same feeling where you determine when the game ends?
You do. It's when you have, is it 12 or is it
It's either 12 goods or 10 buildings.
Yep, it sounds exactly
So once
like
you built
Gizmo
more
or
so
10
far.
factories. I mean,
Yeah, factories are these cards that you're taking. You kind of buy them. Each turn you get to you either get to take one of the factories. There's 4 of them that are face up out of a stack, and they'll keep replenishing. So you can either just take one of those for free. That's kind of like a blueprint for a factory. You take it, put it into your hand, and then you're
Right.
trying to spend resources. It's either is it electricity and
iron.
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 Yeah.
Iron.
You're catching those in to build the little factories, to turn the blueprints into factories, and then the factories allow you to do things with your dice. So you're rolling dice in this game.
He's checking dice.
And so dice
man.
trigger things. You've got 4 dice that you start with that are your own color.
Wait, what did the dice represent?
Right. That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know what do dice represent.
They don't even
Come
know.
on,
They
guys. I mean,
activate your
do we need to
factories.
be
Yeah,
that
again,
thematic with
yeah, it
this
doesn't really need to
game?
be that thematic. It's just you're doing stuff. So
I'm
you're
just
rolling
poking.
dice.
I'm just poking the stick.
The dice
Just go like that.
trigger the cards, and so some of the cards have dice that you have to roll certain numbers to put them on. You've got a main board that you can use any die roll to slot in to take more iron or take some electricity,
God.
or if you can take your extra dice for every dice you place up at the top. You can take an extra blueprint and put it in your hand, and so you're just taking these blueprints. You're rolling the dice. The dice have some of them have different combinations on them. Like if I roll a pair, I can put a pair here, and depending on what they are, if they're 2s or 5s or
Like
6s.
sometimes your factories, you can place your dice on the factories that you're building,
Right.
Which will give you resources or goods, and it's an engine builder basically.
Yep.
You know, when
Yep.
you get down to it.
Yeah, and it's
Did it-
just fun rolling the dice. You've got a pool of extra dice, and so you've got these other cards. I don't know what they call the cards that are the workers.
Assistants or something like
Yeah,
that. I can't
assistants.
remember.
So you've got a stack of those that are 4 of those are coming out every round, and you can use dice at the beginning before you roll the dice. You can use I'm sorry, it's not dice. You can use one of your resources.
Right.
One of your cards. That's what it is. One of your cards. They have 4 different suits, and you can discard a card to activate one of the helpers, assistants, or whatever, and they allow you to do
Helpers, there
things.
you go. Yeah.
Helpers. So they may one of them may be you roll 2 extra dice this round. So for this round, I spend a blue card, and then I get to take 2 extra dice out of the white dice, the extra pool, and I get to roll 6 this turn or whatever. And you're just rolling these dice. It's really light. There's not a whole lot of decisions to make. Maybe.
There's some strategy.
Yeah, I was
to
just saying,
it,
maybe
but
I was
mean,
playing
it's
a
not like
little on the
major
light side.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, being
So
my first.
last
play.
week we talked about Rogers of the Ganges and like dice rolls, real low rolls are going to mess everything up. How are the dice rolls, like the spread of the dice rolls, impacting your play?
This one, it doesn't really matter. There's some cards that, again, let you do some cool things on pairs. There's one particular card that if you roll 3 of a kind, so you're kind of taking a little bit of a risk. If you build this blueprint and put this in there, you're relying on that.
Just
Just
kind of
rolling-
like space-based. Like you're going to get something for the dice roll,
Right.
just what you get
You're always
is...
going to get something.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, like space-based.
Yep, and
And
the
I
numbers.
just want to say,
Go ahead.
Rob was rolling more 6s and 5s.
Oh, I was
this
killing it.
What
entire
is
game.
going
I was rolling
on?
5s and 6s
That's why.
left and right.
That's why right there.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
That never happens.
And so,
God.
yeah, there was one of the cards I had that if you put a pair of dice on it, depending on what the numbers were, your what you took from it was better. And I kept rolling. I think I rolled a pair of sixes on 4. Either I was only rolling 4 or 5 dice every round.
Boxcars.
I rolled boxcars. 4 of the first 5 rolls of the game.
Or as we say in Puerto Rico, caja de diente.
There you go. Exactly. So
the dentures.
Just agree. So yes.
So yeah, it was fun. It was light. I think Carlos would like it because it plays.
Who's got this
30
one?
minutes. You can reset it. They've got it at your turn.
It's not out yet. It's
And
not out yet.
Mine should be delivering pretty soon from the Kickstarter with the expansions.
It
that
is
they
out.
did.
Yeah, they just did the expansion where you could go back and buy the original and the expansion. But it's a fun game. It's light. It's I would say family weight. Again, it's a lot of the games fall into this category that anybody can play it. The 9-year-old could play it because you're just rolling dice and stuff, but they won't do well. But they can play it. Right. So it's not so complex that they can't figure it out. But it's a good one. I think you'd really like it. It's up your alley for sure.
I think I'm gonna have to do. Yeah.
Well, let's play it at your turn. We'll
play it first. I'll try something new this year.
Play a game before you buy it?
before I buy it.
Yeah, that's a novel idea. So,
Who does that?
Yeah, it's
Not many people.
definitely not a Carlos.
Who
thing,
are you?
so-
What have you done with Carlos?
I'm a father of a daughter now. I've hit 4 kids, so I have to make some better financial decisions.
Yeah.
Finally.
And now you decide to do that.
Yeah, usually he sees one that gives a little twinkle, and he's like, "Oh, I need that. I gotta have that." So, but that's a fun one. So
I'm getting better.
yeah. But I'll yield the rest of my time if Michael or Daniel have anything else they want to talk about.
We'll start with Michael. Any games you want to highlight in round 2?
Just real quick, so Dan, Mo, and myself, we were playing Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Yes.
And we took a hiatus there, and then we finally got back to it. And I think we played months August and September, but just August took us a little while to beat. I think we failed it the first time, but then we beat it the second time. But September, I mean, we like blew through that month like in 20 minutes. It was like we didn't know how we did so well in that. Like everything was coming out exactly like it needed to come out. But just to touch on, I mean, if you don't know what Pandemic Legacy is by now, it's like playing Pandemic, but it's a legacy type game. So certain events will take place and they carry over, and it's played over 12 months or 12 scenarios, and decisions that you make in 1 month will carry over to the next, and sometimes it has like this snowball effect. We haven't beat it yet, so we're not quite sure what's going to happen at the very end. I'm assuming it's going to be maybe something major, but anyway, to touch on this one part that happened in the game, I think we were probably one outbreak away from losing the month. And my character that I was playing had Premonition, where I could look at the top 2 cards of the infection deck just to see like what was coming up for the next time where you pull out of the player deck. I forget what the name of the cards are that like cause an outbreak or an infection
deck.
The infection deck.
Thank you. So we saw what was coming up, and if those cards came out, it would have been like our last outbreak to end that particular month. So we only had like maybe 4 cards that we had looked at already that were in the discard pile of the infection deck. And somebody, I think it might have been Mo, pulling off of the player deck caused... again, I forget what it's called. I don't know why. The green card that like causes you to go through the whole
the pandemic card. Epidemic, I think it is.
Epidemic
card.
Yeah.
So, which causes your discard pile to go back on. You shuffle your discard pile after you pull the bottom card off for a new city. You shuffle them up and then you put them back on top of the deck. If he wouldn't have pulled that card, we would have lost the game. But because he did that, we actually ended up winning. So it was like the first time we'd ever won a game
by
due
losing.
to an epidemic happening to save us.
We're rooting for an
It was
epidemic. Yes.
Yeah, we lucked out. So it was an exciting time to play those.
I'm
games.
trying to remember like where you are in September. Me that first run.
I don't want to give any.
Yeah,
okay, we'll have to talk offline.
Yeah. It's a game. I'm amazed. I think you guys said you've only lost like 2 or 3 times, and you're already in like October. Is that right?
Yeah, we're going to start October, the next round.
I think we played 24 months.
Lost maybe
not quite.
3 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it took us 2 tries on every month.
No, not quite. The first half we actually went through quick. That's what I was telling them. Actually, I got the book still at home so we could look. But I remember I was telling them as they were going along a couple of months ago that it's actually not so bad to lose early on because we were doing so
You
well.
get to add cards to
Right.
the
Right.
player's deck with the special events. The more
Yeah.
you lose.
Yeah, and so
That was my strategy.
Yeah.
I bombed the game on purpose.
He was throwing the game.
This is why he doesn't win any games ever.
we won
No.
more than 50% of our games. I remember our stat was 60-something% if I remember right. But
That's good.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll get you in the Hall of Fame in baseball.
Yeah, 60-something%. Yeah, hitting 600.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy your pandemic, man. I loved it. I
was
really
great.
did. I was so glad Rob set that up.
Yeah.
If you folks at home, if you haven't played Pandemic's Legacy Season 1, Season 2, okay. Season 1, yes.
Season 0 is supposed to be really good again, so
Right.
I'm looking forward to trying that eventually. Mhm.
Yeah, we're at a 72% win rate right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's still going
Show
to
off.
kick you in the teeth a little bit, hopefully, these last few
So we've
months. We'll see.
we've lost 3 times out of 11 plays.
Wow.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's a little better than us.
Yeah, but see, you're gonna get through it so fast. Like, if you lose every one and play them twice,
Enjoy it.
you get 24 sittings.
Yeah, you don't get as much bang for your buck, right? Because it's a one-time shot deal. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, hey. You get bragging rights, right?
It's kind of like we just talked about it, the Alien game from back in the day.
XCOM?
Yeah, XCOM, where the more you lose, the more they fund you because they know you need the money.
Yeah, but XCOM is a hard game.
Yeah.
But the
is
more
a
you
hard
win
game.
in Pandemic Season 1, the less funding you get, the less events you get, the harder the game gets.
We seem to be holding our own.
All right, well, let me know how December goes.
You must not be playing it right, but
I don't know. Got something wrong.
yeah.
It's like Falling Skies. It's getting
Yeah.
everything wrong.
This is coming from you guys, where you guys played that tournament, and you guys.
Yeah, Robert and I did a pandemic tournament.
Hey, I don't think we're doing it
We
right.
had to kick
And
ourselves out of the tournament.
No, we didn't. We didn't kick ourselves out. We
admitted-
raised our hands thinking
admitted
we won.
That we did something wrong.
We were like, we won, and
the
everybody's
guy-
like,
no way.
no. So they
Well,
came over and audited
Yeah.
us.
It wasn't quite that way, but we were doing so much better than everybody because they had a little scoreboard behind you that you flip every time you have an outbreak, and everybody was like on their 4th or 5th
And
outbreak.
people were leaving the room because they
only
were
had
getting
2.
knocked out.
Yeah, several groups had been knocked out. So finally, one of the tournament coordinators came over and he's like, "How are you guys doing so well?" And so we started looking at the board. We're like, "We did this and that and this, and then on that turn we did that." And they're like, "Oh no, you can't do both of those things every turn. You can only do one or the other." We're like, "Oh, all right." We just stood up and walked out. That was it.
Well, no, because when you lose in the pandemic tournament, you have to cover your board with a radiation napkin,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to flip your dials to like dead. So we quietly flip our dials to dead. We lay out the napkin over our stuff and just kind of slink out of there,
we
all
just
embarrassed.
Put our heads down and slunk out of the room.
best part
yeah.
about that is they let me in the room to watch, and I had to be quiet, and I just like,
Yeah.
and the corner went. I walked away.
Pandemic. Favorite game ever.
Yeah.
All right, Daniel, round 2. You get to highlight another game. What you got?
Well, I thought about doing like the Here's the Land, Air, and Sea because I like that game and it reminds me so much of like Warcraft. the computer game back in the day.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. But I actually wanted to talk about Folklore the Affliction.
Oh,
I talked
okay.
about Dungeon Crawlers earlier. And so, have you guys heard that one or played that one?
I've heard of it.
I'm not familiar with
but
it.
haven't played it.
So it's a very dark overture of this world where affliction has come. So there's like undead, there's werewolves. So when you first start, you go to like this main church where it doesn't really tell you, but you can kind of figure out like they found like a half man, half lycanthrope that was found dead, and you retrieve like some kind of stone from his belly.
Ooh.
But then you're traveling this world. You have a world map and you have a little marker. And as you travel, you're taking road events or off-road events. So when you take an off-road event, obviously it's going to be more dangerous. And so you do get kicked around a lot. But I'd say that the game is about 60% RPG and 40% board game.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot of story there.
I'm
Kind of like
looking at some of these
Swords and
pictures online.
Sorcery.
No, Swords and Sorcery was a lot more. No, I don't think that was like that. Sword and Sorcery had a lot more game and a little bit of story, depending if you met certain criteria.
Okay, I felt like that had a lot of narrative.
It had a lot of narrative in the beginning, and it tell you what your goals were, and then there was story points on the board that you had to either reach or do something with.
So just for me to level set that then, Daniel, what makes it so strong on the RPG side? What gave you that RPG feel?
So because you are traveling, you are doing skill checks. You know, there's so much story there that you're like when you play on the world map. There's no like. So let me kind of explain. So like, there's the world map where you're traveling, and you have what's called skirmishes, where you're doing like a battle and like without any miniatures or anything. So you're rolling dice trying to see if you hit and things like that. But then if you go exploring, when you go into like, let's say, the deep wood, then you get out these tiles to represent where you've zoomed in, and then that's where it's all strategy, where you have your miniatures and you're battling.
Cool.
It's like an instance in an MMO RPG.
Well, it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle Earth.
Yeah,
It
so I was
had
thinking.
this high altitude feel where you see like land masses and you're crossing them real fast, doing quick battles. But then at certain points, you zoom in real tight and actually have like a on a tile board battle.
Mm-hmm. And then on the world map, when you take the road event cards or off-road event cards, there are choices that you have to make. And so some of them may be like you come across a tombstone and you hear a wailing banshee. Do you investigate or do you try to run away?
Oh man,
Yes.
I'm
Run
getting
away.
The butterflies
yes.
in my stomach listening about this game, and this is something I would want to get into.
Daniel, did you ever? Oh, you said you never played First Edition Descent, because First Edition Descent had a Roads to Legends book, which I have and have played, and it does that. You in between each mission, like the tight on the board tile board, you have a road event, and you draw cards depending on where you choose to go. Will dictate what cards pile you end up drawing, and then something happens. You got to make a decision. You might meet a merchant. You might meet someone in distress. Do you take the side quest? That kind of a feel. I'd like that. That adds.
I thought that
And
was
you
in
actually
second
have a
edition,
day
too.
and nighttime tracker. So like at nighttime, events get harder because you might encounter a vampire.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Can you choose to not do anything at night?
Nope.
Okay,
Like
you
if
got
you're traveling, you're going to have to make a choice. And then
Yeah,
when you
this
get to
look-
the
this
town
looks
that you're
awesome.
looking for, you might get pickpocketed, or the townsfolk don't trust you, but yet you're there to help them, and so they might start a brawl with you.
Okay, so it has a lot of story elements that you would remember from your D&D adventures. You know, the traveling events, the village that you pop by in is a whole side story to it. Now, how hard is it to run? Do you need someone to be the game, or is it fully co-op? Where does that fit?
So it's fully co-op, but I think someone could easily run as a GM just to help the game run. So like I actually worked for Greenbrier Games, which is a company that made it a couple of Gen Cons ago, and I actually ran this in one of their events for them.
Okay, I'll have to.
The minis look
Sweet.
good.
Well, I mean, when minis look painted, they look good.
I guess any painted mini looks good.
Well, no,
Yeah, I'm looking at, like-
no.
We won't go there on this.
Yes.
show.
Thank you, Michael.
Down that road.
Thank you, Mike.
I just said no. That's all I said.
We knew where you were going.
It doesn't matter. I just said no.
And they do sell a GM screen for the game too.
Okay, so you
wow,
really can
okay.
play it as a GM, like an RPG event.
Yep.
I can tell a
Oh.
lot of people are getting into this because I can see a lot of 3D printed stuff, like specifically for this game. It seems like.
I've seen a
Yep.
lot of games now offer 3D printed packages after the game has been on the market for a while.
3D terrain and such.
Yes, 3D terrain, 3D. So, like you said, Sword and Sorcery, there was a whole
Lot.
lot of files. So all the spawn tokens, all the doors, all the treasure, all these little things that people said, you know what? Why do I have cardboard token? They just put someone created the file, made a 3D print, and then when the second Sword and Sorcery game, I think it's called Chronicles, something Ancients or something like that. They came out with a little expansion pack. And I looked at it online. It's like, wow, that looks exactly like the same 3D printed file that I can get
Yeah, people are selling them now.
on Thingiverse. And it's legitimately from the company. It's from Ares Games. They legitimately made it. They just said, you know what? People want it. Here you go. And they made resin copies of it, and they just sell it now. So I don't know if the person who made the file got offered, say, hey, can we? I don't know how that went, but It looks the same.
Yeah, I know Stonemaier's done that with their 3D bits. You know, they've began to take what people have produced and add it as actual official stuff. I think Wynn's Gambit, that was something that was a fan-made thing that ended up being an actual expansion for Scythe. Daniel, on Folklore of the Affliction, how difficult is it to run the game, right? Like Shadows, Swords and Sorcery, I struggled with that one because that felt very complex, and it wasn't something I could lightly throw down. Where does Folklore of the Affliction stand in the range of complexity?
Has he played that one?
So for me, like I play a lot of dungeon crawlers, so obviously I have Sword and Sorcery, and I understand what you're talking about. So I think this would be like a medium weight in a sense, because the game runs smoothly. There's just different story moments that you need to pay attention to. And the book does a really great job of breaking down encounters and what you need to do and what your objectives are.
Where would you put Sword and Sorcery so I can understand your scale?
That's probably higher because of the different things that need to happen each time you flip a tile or bring out a tile.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up for games we've played. We're going to get into our next segment in the show, but before we do that, we want to thank William for coming by and spending time with us. And more importantly, Daniel, thank you for taking time to join the show all the way from Indiana. Tell the folks at home
Long reach
about your channel, Christian Adventure Gamer, what you got coming up for them, and how they can find out more about what you're doing.
Yeah, so like right now I'm going through Descent Legends of the Dark, so I know there's some people that are eager to see what I encounter with that.
I am some people.
I do plan on doing some live play.
Cool.
So I'm going to have that because I can run the app on Steam, so I can run it there while I have another camera focused on my game table when I play. So if you're looking for ways to connect with me, I have a Facebook page. I have a Twitter account. You can always reach out to me there.
All right. Well, folks, check them out. Christian Adventure Gamer on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Daniel, William, thanks for joining us. Mike, Rob, let's get into that next segment and talk about our recent hauls. We're going to go through our segment of new game hauls, games that we've purchased. Mike, you lead us off on this one.
You want me to lead off since I have so much?
Right. Feel free.
Well, the top thing on my list, I got a week or so ago. I couldn't make the show last week, but I ended up picking up the King is Dead 2nd edition. I saw, no pun included, I think I watched their review, and that's what kind of turned me on to it. It plays pretty quick. I'm going to do my best to describe it, but it's back in. Do you even know the time frame that this takes place in, Carlos? You were talking about like the whole France invading thing, like you knew it like the back of your hand.
It says medieval Britain on here. I'm looking at the BGG page, but so medieval times. Yeah.
Right, would have been so anyway, like a 900s, 800s.
Okay, so the king has died, and they're trying to get a new king in power. But there's 3 different courts or whatever that are trying to win for their side. So there's Rob's gonna love this game because there's a ton of cubes in it. There's no dice rolling at all.
My favorite.
And your favorite type of dice.
Yeah, the cube dice. No dots on them.
Yeah, so there's like 12 provinces there's cards for each province that are lined up on either side of the board, numbered. You shuffle them up so they come out randomly every single time. And then each player gets 8 cards. This is the base part of it because there is like a module where you can get like an asymmetrical power. But you get the same 8 cards each player. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to influence certain provinces so that they take control, so that they win control of that province. And there's 3 different colors. There's red, yellow, and blue. So at the end of the game, either when all the provinces have taken power, or if France invades 3 different times, and I'll kind of touch on that in a second. But this is almost like I'm going into playing it. But
that's okay. I'm listening.
Okay, so you go around the table clockwise. You can you have 2 choices. You can either play a card from your hand, or you can pass. And the cool thing is you can keep passing all you want and let other people play their cards. You're still going to get everybody's going to get the same amount of turns. You're all going to get 8 turns. So if everybody else at the table runs out of cards and you still have 4 cards in your hand, you get to play 4 cards in a row. if you want to. But if everybody at the table passes, whatever province is at the lowest number, so it's ascending 1 through 12, whatever province is at the lowest number, you're going to look at the number of cubes and the colors of those cubes, and whichever has the majority, that particular color is going to rule that particular province, and then play continues. So, and if there's ever a stalemate, like if you have the same number of cubes in the same province, that's when France will invade. So it'll be like a black token that kind of like moves in. If that happens 3 times, everybody at the table loses. And you just continue this play, but it's this very, most of your cards have to do with either moving cubes from one province to another, or you're exchanging 2 for 1 in this particular area. And the whichever province has control with the card that you're playing, sometimes that does kind of play into it. But the cool thing is you're trying to take cubes into your court. Doesn't matter what color it is, but you're trying to kind of placate to try and figure out which color is going to rule the most land at the end of the game. So, but the thing is as you're taking cubes off, so if you, let's say you think it's going to be red, so you start collecting red cubes into your court, well, you're taking more red cubes off the map. So it makes it harder for them to continue taking control of specific provinces. So it's this, push-pull type of thing, and when to play your cards and when to pass. And there's one card that actually lets you shift one, you can swap one province for another on the numbered slots. So if you see that like one is going to definitely win, and you think somebody's passing because they want more of that particular color to win more land, you can play the card and then it swaps the 2. So you could like move it all the way to the end of the game if you wanted to, and the one that you want to win could be the next one in line
because it's ready, it's primed, passes. It's right now.
Right. And then you put like your token on it, so nobody can move that card once it's been moved. And you can choose between which card. So like even if it's the card that was coming up next and you move it to the end of the line, for argument's sake, you can put your token on either that one, or you can put it on the one that you moved into the new lower numbered spot, and nobody can touch that card for the rest of the game. And there's certain rules, like if you shift 2 cubes from one land and shift 1 cube from that land to the other one, the next person in line cannot play the same card that you played. There has to be at least one more action in between the same type of card being played. And it's just this, it plays very quick. And I think I would think that the period art is pretty accurate. If you look at it, doesn't have very much table presence, but it is a great game.
Well, I'm looking at it. What you're talking about, and it's very much a medieval style artwork, Byzantine times.
Right. Yeah, very much so.
It's what you would have found like in a monks or monasteries scripture or art drawings.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah. Yeah, and even the cards themselves, like the actions that you would take, I mean, it looks very hand drawn, intentionally, But it's a fun game. If you're going to be there Saturday, I'll bring it with me, and I can teach it real quick.
Sure, we got a game that says 2 to 4 players, so we can play 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah,
because this one I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I've only played it with 2 players. Just me and Dan played it, so I'm interested in playing with like a full count.
What is a full count
possible.
for this one?
4, up to 4.
All right, hey, that's at least 3 of us.
Yeah, 30-minute game. Yeah, get that in.
And you were talking about the footprint of it too, right? The size?
Yeah, it's very small.
Yeah.
That sells me on games so much. Just the idea of a game you can take with you and pop up at any table. Robert and I used to do a lot of gaming at work together.
Yeah.
When we worked at the same company together, we would have lunchtime gaming. The toughest part was finding games that could fit on a lunch table.
Yeah.
True.
And then played in 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. What other acquisitions?
Well,
no, we're going.
I'll take one.
Oh, okay, going back and forth. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, as back and forth as we can get. I don't know if I can compete.
Might be back and forth.
But I did pick up today, actually, from Target on sale, Strike Dice, the game. Strike, the dice game.
Strike. Okay, yeah.
Ravensburger.
Okay, yeah.
It seems to be a
Very polarizing game.
it's literally a dice chucker.
Yes, some people would say more an activity than a game, but yeah.
You're just throwing dice into a bowl, stacking them up, trying to knock them down.
Yeah.
It's just something for $5.50,
Yeah.
I couldn't say no to that.
Sure.
Was it really that cheap?
Yeah, it was in. We were doing some school shopping, and they had a whole clearance section, and there it was.
Wow.
Oh, it was in the clearance set. Man,
In the back, all the way in the back, at University Target, not too far from all of us, really.
Yeah.
And on the back right corner in your landscaping, they had it for $5 and like 49 cents or something.
What?
So, I've seen videos of it played. I've heard bad reviews in the sense that it's not really a game. There's no strategy.
Yeah.
But when you got a 10-year-old,
Yeah.
right, and a box again, back to a box that holds a game that can be played on a small table.
What the heck?
Take it to a restaurant, chuck dice in there.
Yeah.
And if we happen to lose it,
you're gonna have dice scooting across the floor.
Yeah,
and
bouncing off
landing in
walls,
somebody's
and
pasta.
waitresses, yeah, something like that.
I don't mind losing a few pieces if the game was $5.
Yeah, you can get replacement
There you
dice.
go.
Those are easy to find, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah,
that's Strike the Dice game.
Cool.
Ravensburger.
All right, back to you, Mike.
Nothing from you, Rob, huh?
No, I'm a big zero.
Okay. All right. Cool. So next on my list, Nidavellir.
Oh.
Heard you guys talking about it.
Yeah.
I forget. Was it Ralph that taught you how to play? I can't remember who taught you how to play.
Diego.
Yep, Diego, one of Raphael's friends who's in our group now. Yep, Diego brought it, and Raph and Diego had played it several times, and they introduced it to me at the last big 1 month ago game day, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Hearing you guys talk about it and then seeing a couple of reviews, I was like, oh man, this is right up my alley.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's like, miniature market. I just want to pick this game up, and then it's like, well, if I spend $100, I get free shipping. So it's like you start tacking on things.
Oh yeah, I've been there. We've all done that.
So I picked that up and the expansion for it, and
Thingavalier, right?
Thingavalier, yeah.
Thingavalier?
I think it's called.
That's right. Yeah, that's what the expansion is called.
Yep.
So I'm excited to get that to the table. I'll probably bring that with me.
So if you bring that Saturday, we'll get in a game with that. We'll teach it to
I've been
Carlos.
itching to play that one too, to learn that one.
All right, awesome.
I got stuck
Yeah,
into
somebody
a
wants to
big
teach
game
me.
and I missed it last time, but I do want to play.
How many does that one play? Do you know? I wanted to say we played with 5, maybe, or maybe it was only 4.
It says 2 to 5 on the box.
5.
I don't
Okay,
know
yeah.
if the expansion adds one. I don't think it does, but yeah, 2 to 5.
Yeah, I don't think so. But okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's another couple there.
Well, I think thanks to, and I believe if I'm right, stop me folks if I'm wrong, Wayne, who brought up kids games last time we talked, and he brought up Zombie Kids Evolution. It's a kids game with zombies, little standees. It really, to me, it sounds like Zombie Side for that 10-year-old bracket, right? Like not too hard, not too tough. It's save the school from cartoonish zombie hordes. Unlock fun, new content as you play. So kind of like a little campaign game for kids that plays in like 15 minutes per sitting, 5 to 15 minutes per sitting. I immediately scooped it up after Wayne described it. It arrived. My son's already read the rule book. He's cracked it open, unboxed it, looked at the components. My 10-year-old's super excited about getting this one to the table.
Cool.
Awesome. It's ranked number 1 as children's game.
Really? Number
in
1?
BGG.
Wow.
Really?
Overall rank children's game. Overall, it's 556. Family is 87. And then children's game is ranked number 1.
Huh. Okay.
So
Wow.
I know Dice Tower really liked it. So
no pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure. Don't.
Yeah. Get set those expectations. Yeah.
And I'm not even sure who these publishers are because I've never heard of this before. It wasn't until Wayne brought it to my attention. But it looks as though, what is it, Les Scorpio Masqué? I don't know. Asmodee is, I think, the version I have.
Yeah, the U.S. version.
Yeah, it's the U.S. distributor for it. Designed by Anik Lobet.
Sure.
So that's Zombie Kids. I'll hopefully report on that one soon.
Cool.
Nice.
It kind of has like a, I don't know, Nickelodeon cartoon feel to it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Like-
that's what I was getting those vibes from it.
Like a
the
Hey
looks of it.
Arnold, kind of a cartoon style. Well, I'm throwing myself back.
Yeah. Hey, Arnold.
Buggy-eyed kids. So my son is like super excited about it.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm
I'll-
interested to hear how that plays actually.
5 minutes. Like that kind of makes me curious to see. Really, there's a 5-minute
Really?
scenario. Wayne even talked about that. There were some
Yeah.
scenarios he did at night that were just 5 minutes.
That's cool.
5 minutes.
Like
What?
it's not even worth taking it out of the
How do
box.
you even set it up?
Yeah, micro macro. I mentioned we played the first scenario micro macro in about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was quick.
It's a thing then.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a 2018 release. I've never heard of it, but I'm excited to have it on my table.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right, Michael, what
Mike.
real games do you have?
Well, hey, that's a
Real
real game.
games.
Games for kids are real games too, you know.
Kids are people too?
Yeah, that's right. Or so I'm told. So anyway, my next acquisition, this is my first game that I actually sold, and then I played it recently, and I was just like,
Oh.
what did I get rid of this game for?
It's a
And I ended up
buyback.
buying it again. Onitama.
There you go.
I sold it like probably a few years ago, and it just never hit the table, and I was just kind of like, And then Dan and I broke it out. I think I taught Dan maybe a week or so ago, and I was like, "Have you ever played this?" He's like, "Nope." I was like, "Come on, we're gonna play this. This is real simple to teach."
Good game.
And we ended up getting like 2 or 3 games in. He's like, "Man, I really like that game because it plays so fast."
Yeah.
Like have you played this, Carlos?
Oh, I own it.
Oh, yeah,
And the
yeah.
expansion.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's another one of those games where, small footprint,
Yep.
lots of strategy. It changes every time you play because you're playing with different cards.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to getting to the expansion, the first expansion, which adds a lot more moves.
Right?
Yep.
To it.
I got that. Yep.
And I would probably just be happy with that because it all kind of compacts into that little magnetic
That
fold
cool case.
and
I talked about that the
I
other day,
love
but
that,
I love
man.
that magnetic case. Anything with a little magnetic
It's
case.
tough though because I sleeve everything, so all my
Oh.
cards are sleeved. And Robert, you can kind of see it up on the shelf. It's got kind of a gap
Because you sleeved it.
all
it's
the cards
bulging
are
a little
sleeved.
bit.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's to Michael's shock. This game again, back to small footprint. Love games with small footprints.
Yep.
I play this thing at IHOP.
Yep.
Pancake syrup all over the mat. It's just the neoprene mat.
I
That
was just
comes
saying
with it.
the components of this are really good. The miniatures, I don't know what they're made out of, but the resin,
They're plastic,
resin,
red, blue,
They're
plastic
heavy,
miniatures.
though. They have a
Yeah.
good weight to
Yeah,
them.
they're nice. They feel nice and chunky and heavy. The neoprene mat that comes with it. I mean, that's not an upgrade. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
A little roll out
and
mat.
it rolls up and fits in the box.
Yeah, fits in that little box. And then the cards themselves are even. I can't
I
remember. if
don't
they're-
know if the cards
I
are
think they're
as
more of a linen.
They're linen finish. Yeah, they're
kind
they're
of more
nice.
matte though, and
I
almost like a cardboard feel to them. I think. I worry about like water,
Really?
moisture sucking into them. So I sleeved them all.
Yeah.
I sleeved all
I
mine,
don't blame you. I sleeved mine.
especially if I'm taking it to an IHOP and eating pancakes with one hand.
Yeah, syrup and cards
Yikes.
don't mix. Yeah.
It was actually me and Zeno in
Oh, yeah?
Atlanta, Georgia. We were at a tournament for X-Wing, and we took it with us inside of the IHOP while we were waiting for breakfast and played Unitami.
Cool. Yeah, it's a good game.
Nice.
There's a couple other expansions. I know I mentioned that there's the
There's a
wind,
new one.
the wind one, and then they've announced the ninja one, which is going to have a hidden movement board that you do off to the side, which sounds really cool. And then there's
There's like the footprint is getting bigger with that. No.
yeah, now you get another little board. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely for sure. But
But that one can come out at home, right? I can set that one up at home.
Right,
But
yeah.
when I'm at Cracker Barrel, it's going to be me and the base set.
yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
cool.
And I don't got to worry about it getting messed up. Sleeved cards, neoprene mat, chunky plastic pieces. I can spray it all down with Anti-Bac to clean it up, and I'm done.
Sure.
So, hey, man, that's a winner.
Unitama. Okay, so what a horrible feeling, isn't it? You have something, you get rid of it, and then you
Oh, gotta buy
totally
it back.
regret it.
Yeah.
Yep. And I remember when I bought it because I'm trying to remember who it was. Probably Z Garcia from the Dice
Tower.
He loves that game, and you always watch their top 100s, and it's probably fallen a lot on his list. I don't even know where it is at this point, but I know he's mentioned it multiple times, and I was like, let me check this game out. And this is kind of like towards the beginning of when I kind of started playing games or board games. And yeah, it's a quick 2-player game. It's real easy to teach.
Yep.
I mean, there's really nothing to it. It's just pure strategy depending on what cards come out. But yeah, I just, like I said, never hit the table. I sold it for like $12 or something.
Yeah.
And never thought about it again until I played it at your turn.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did I sell this game
It's
for?
a coffee table game. Like it belongs.
Yeah, it is.
You
It
can leave it
belongs
set
on your
up.
coffee
Yeah,
table.
You can leave it set up. Looks
And-
nice.
People be curious. So visitors can play it. Was this one of your miniature market purchases that you added to?
Of course.
Isn't that the miniature market trap though? Like I find myself like buying like individual Zen bins, trying to hit that $99.
Yeah, just
like,
whatever it takes to get that last little bit. Push you over
57-cent Zen bin. Add 3. There, I'm
at the 100.
free shipping.
Sweet.
What else you got?
Yeah. So the last 2 items also from my miniature market purchase.
That $99 purchase.
2 Power Grid maps.
Oh,
the
cool.
expansions I picked up. So I picked up Middle East and South Africa, which is like the one board where you flip it over.
Right.
And then the I'm gonna butcher the second one, but it's Quebec and Baden-Württemberg. Those 2 maps.
You know, I wouldn't know if you got it right or wrong.
Yeah, I don't have no clue. Yeah.
Let's just say I got it right to make me feel better about it.
All right, there you go.
But,
Just email
yes.
Mike at Beans and Dice. I'm kidding.
Yeah. That doesn't exist yet.
No. So yeah, I got those 2 maps in, and yeah. So that's it. That's my acquisitions. No Kickstarters delivered. Still waiting on. I think the next one that's supposed to deliver, that should be here, is Cascadia.
Oh yeah.
So
I thought he was bringing that with him to game day.
Oh, you say
No,
he was
I saw-
hoping to.
yeah, I was saying I hope
that
it
was a
delivers
hope.
in time.
Yeah, he was saying if it delivers in time, he was going to bring it. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap us up for our game hauls. Let's talk about upcoming games, gaming news, and gaming adjacent topics. All of them wrapped up into one, just going round robin. I think I want to start off.
Yeah, go ahead. Start us off.
Go for it.
After having our guest last week, Mitchell, and talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the upcoming series, I finally gave in and binge watched Loki.
Oh yeah. Well.
Good for you, man.
Knocked it out in a day.
Wow.
And
What's what?
That's
6
only 6
episodes?
episodes.
Yeah, 6
It's
episodes.
only 6
Yeah,
episodes.
Okay, so it's not so bad.
but I think I mentioned it in our chat. I thought it was amazing. Like it shot up to the top of the MCU total, not just like series, but like movies. Like
Craziness.
maybe one movie I liked better than watching this series.
Which movie?
Probably original Iron Man.
Really?
No. Okay. See, that's in my top 3 superhero movies of all time.
Yep.
Okay.
Iron Man.
Meeting Tony Stark out, you know, and the original War Machine, you know. But no, it shot up to the top of my MCU universe love. I'm not a comic book person, so I have no background on anything comic booky, right? So I got nothing holding me back. Everything's fresh and new to me. It's all, you know, I'm not going to go actually on anything I see in the comic book world versus the movie world. All I know is that the actor Tom
Hiddleston.
Yeah.
just rocked it, and then all his supporting cast rocked it. Like every character I was invested in, and then Owen Wilson, was it? It was Owen, not Luke. It was Owen.
Yep.
Rocked it. Like I was so invested in this storyline. Last time I felt like that was the Netflix series, The Umbrella Academy. Was probably the last time I felt this invested.
That's a good one.
In a series or the characters of the series. You know, even the like the lowly security guards or you know, peacekeepers, whatever you want to call them in Loki. Like I was invested in their stories.
Really?
They just did a great job. And I'm not a butterfly effect, timeline, Back to the Future, time travel type of person. Those kind of movies and shows weird me out. It's always it's like,
Weird you out?
Right, like the whole, well, if I go meet myself in the past and I see my future self and then trying to keep all
you
that
just
stuff.
don't care to try and figure that stuff out in your head.
Right. You know, it burns my brain, but they did such a good job in this series. Strong did a great job in this series. Super happy to have watched it. Loki, I recommend it. I mean,
Haven't seen it yet. I gotta start watching. Yeah.
Yeah. I would
alligator
definitely
Loki
recommend
is
it.
a thing.
Yeah. That's what I've
I
heard.
thought that was just a meme running
No,
out there.
He was in the comics.
Yeah.
That's I enjoyed it. And I loved every version of Loki. I mean, you should all know by now. It's all about Loki and the different Lokis of the multiverse. But like every version of Loki was fun to watch. So, folks, go through it, bang it out.
Yep.
That's
Very
me.
Cool.
That's my adjacent
Rob, what you
topic.
got?
Actually, I'm going to hit on a little bit of a downer, but the one thing I wanted to bring up in the news, and this is mostly local, but I just reflect a little bit on it. Hopefully it doesn't become a bigger issue, is the pandemic stuff that seems to be ramping back up, and most specifically the convention, one of the conventions we have here locally in Orlando, the Escape Winter Convention is coming up next month, September 15th, I think. September 15th, yeah, and I was perusing their Facebook page yesterday or the day before, and I posted to our chat group and started a little bit of a conversation that there's been a rash of people over the last, especially the last few days, but maybe the last week or so, that have been asking questions about either refunds on their tickets or pushing their tickets to next year and not going this year. And there were several of those posts back to back to back within the last couple of days, and then my guess is probably a little bit out of frustration, the guy who runs the tournament, Patrick Havert, posted that if this year's convention doesn't go well, it may be the last time they're ever able to run this convention. And then he made a side note in some of the conversation that I guess the convention center and the hotel is requiring them to have the convention at this point. They're not allowing them to back out, I guess, and get any kind of refund. And so it sounds like they were feeling like they really wanted to cancel. They really don't even want to run this convention this year. And I know I've heard the ticket sales have been far less than they had hoped. So it sounds like they were trying to maybe get out of it, and now they're not able to. So my hope and my feeling is that maybe just out of a little bit of frustration, he made that comment public, and then he seems to have kind of backed off of it a little bit lately, and he posted something actually today saying, I really appreciate all the people who are hanging with us and who are, trying to make this thing work. So I think maybe he's probably had a little bit of second thoughts about the initial post, would probably be my guess. But gosh, I mean, and I just posted in our chat group that this COVID thing it's obviously far from over. And I've heard, we were talking a little bit today about some Gen Con stuff. Gen Con has updated all their mask mandates. They are now requiring masks at all of their indoor events. Any gatherings outdoors over, it was a certain number of people, they're requiring to be masked. They're talking about cutting some of their events. I guess some of the vendors are backing out. I've heard that Eschen Spiel this year, a lot of people are backing out of that. Steve Bonacore on Dice Tower today said, or actually, I'm not sorry, it wasn't on Dice Tower. It was on his podcast yesterday with Ignacy Trevicek that they do every week. He mentioned that he's having second thoughts now. He was going just as a fan to Essen. He's been every year, but he said this year, because of the number of vendors that are backing out, the disappointing ticket sales that they've had, he said he doesn't think it's probably worth the effort of having to go overseas, do all the passport stuff, all of the COVID stuff, the checks and stuff that he's asked to do over there. He said he may, for the first time ever, not go to Essen. So, it just seems like this is another bummer that I kind of felt we were getting out of this thing. We were recovering. Conventions were coming back. Things were getting good. I know we've got a couple of conventions, Carlos, scheduled in the next couple of months that I'm starting to wonder now what's going to happen with these conventions. We've got the Dice Tower retreat in November. We've got the trip to what's the title of it? It's
Design Day, the Stonemeyer Design Day.
Yeah, the Design Day that they're having up there. I'm hoping that neither one of those events cancel, although I wouldn't be surprised. I know Stegmeyer had said that he's definitely on the conservative side with that, and that he wears masks in public and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've got mask mandates there when we get there. So we'll see. But I'm hoping this doesn't Patrick talking about Escape Winter maybe being their last one, just because they're not making the money on it like they had hoped. Hopefully this doesn't start running some of these small cons out of business. We'll see. Only time will tell. But it was disappointing to hear that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we were, riding so high when, and Patrick ran the Dice Tower conventions for years before it branched out on its own.
Yep.
So he's been doing this for a long time. We were riding so high on the idea of, wow, we've got multiple cons near Tampa that we're going to be able to go to, one in February and then doing the July one for the Dice Tower. And then now it feels like it's all just kind of...
stuff's starting to crumble away a little bit. So
it really makes me appreciate the second Saturday events that we have going locally, being able to get 15, 20, 30 people together to play games in an all-day fashion at our local game shops. It's probably the closest we're going to feel to a con, I guess, for a little while. Now, I originally planned on going to Escape WinterCon. It wasn't until we got the invite to the Stonemeyer Design Day,
which is the week before,
the weekend before.
Yeah.
So we're traveling to St. Louis and back. So it kind of put a kibosh on my whole plan to be a week over in Orlando for the Escape WinterCon. But I'm starting to think, Rob, that at minimum, although we may not be able to stay in the suite, maybe we should pick up a ticket and then pay a day visit.
Just go for a couple days or a day or two.
Or spend Saturday over there, all day Saturday, and
just help support the con.
Right. Get some gaming out there. We'll figure that one out. But because that's a tough spot to put Patrick in.
Yeah. I mean, financial crunch is rough. But like I say, he's been running that convention. I mean, he did it before they had hooked up with the Dice Tower. He was doing it for years, and then they merged with the Dice Tower and ran the Dice Tower convention for several years, and then they had the breakup 2 years ago, and so they went to their own thing with this Escape Winter. And like you say, I mean, it was like, great, we're going to have 2 big cons here, a couple thousand people at each one. This was a good thing for the Florida gaming scene.
Yep.
And then, so if this disappears, it'll be disappointing, but hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully, again, maybe it was just being a gut reaction, spur of the moment kind of thing.
I don't know. I just don't know how many more hits these businesses, because at the end of the day, it's a business, can take. Yeah. Right, the hotel scene, the convention, producers, and I don't know how much more they can take.
We'll see. Yeah.
That was a downer, Robert.
Yeah, hey.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
Now, over to you, Michael. What you got going on?
Let me add to this downer bit here.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I do have a couple of things on here that might be a downer. Are we talking game adjacent stuff? Or
it's all combined.
Yeah,
this third segment is a little bit of everything.
Open house, yeah.
All right, so let's liven up the group here a little bit.
Okay.
So things that I'm upcoming games or whatever that are in the future. A couple of these are like in the far future, but I have Cascadia here, which that should be delivering any day here. That's a Kickstarter that I backed.
Yeah.
Same people that did Calico, I think, is the. I'll be honest, I don't know very much about the game. I can't pull it off the top of my head right now. But I'm excited to play it. Everybody that's been, there are people in the U.S. that already have it in their hands and have been playing it. They said that they love it. So if it plays similar to, I know it's not a similar game to Calico. Like there are definitely more mechanics to it, but I know that this may not be everybody agreeing at the table here, but I actually enjoy Calico.
Right here, hands up. Me too.
I wasn't a fan, but that's everybody knows that.
Because he lost.
It definitely is not for everybody. It is. It is a brain burner, and like you said, there is that you could be building up for this one thing, and then you just never get that tile.
It could be penalizing. Yeah. Or if you place the wrong tile.
I mean, to me, it's part of the game, and if it does happen towards the end of the game, it's a little bit more detrimental than towards the beginning, because you can kind of like shift priorities at that point.
This needs to be a second chance game for Robert. I got some second chance games on my list. Because
how many times have you played it, Rob?
Just once.
It's on video. You can watch it. It's on our channel.
Live.
Robert shot the moon. He was really going for this big point combo setup, but he needed this one tile to put it all together. And one version of blue, like one specific pattern of blue. Right.
When it was one tile placement again, there was one point I think I placed a tile in the wrong place, and I realized it a couple turns later, and it was like, well, there's no taking it back at that point, and I had pretty much screwed up everything because it affected like 3 different areas of things that I was trying to build. So it was like one bad placement kind of ruined my game. So I was like,
I would say try and give it at least one more play.
Yeah, I'll play it again. I never completely shut down any game, I don't think. So
Blood Bowl.
I was going to actually mention Blood Bowl. I'd play Blood Bowl again. I'm not going to get into it the way you want me to get into it. But
we got it on the audio, folks.
I'll play it again.
We got it on audio. Cascadia looks like reminds me of Ecos.
Ecos, I was gonna say that's the first thing.
Like
I think
I'm
of.
totally seeing
Nature
Ecos in
and,
here.
Yeah, little animals and.
Have you played Ecos, Michael?
I have not.
You've got to.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah,
Is that the one where you're adding the things to like the 3D shape?
No,
almost
that's
looks like a
that's
deep
Planet.
Yeah, that's Planet.
Oh, okay, all right.
So Ecos is. Ecos looks exactly like Cascadia.
Yeah, it's tile pulling. You're pulling tiles out of a bag.
Okay.
So you're placing tiles on the board,
Yeah.
right, to make different continents and regions like oceans and lands, just like Cascadia looks. Then
I know what game you're talking about.
playing.
Yeah.
You're pulling tiles to make resources to then use cards
Right.
to put animals
To trigger
tokens on these different continents. They're going to score
Or terrain
based
or stuff.
on different objectives.
Okay.
So I mean, it ends up looking exactly like
sounds similar
Cascadia.
to-
Looks real
yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyway, that was my quick one. The one that I really want to talk about that I'm excited that was announced a couple of weeks ago from Orange Nebula, makers of Vindication, one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah.
And Unsettled, which hasn't delivered yet. We're still waiting on that in the U.S. I think Daniel touched on that in our previous segment. But they announced that they are going to do a big box. They're calling it the Archive of the Ancients. They are doing a big box for Vindication. And this has been in the works. Like everybody has been asking about a big box because the latest Kickstarter that they did, they added like 2 decent sized expansions to the game. And everybody was asking about, and they're like, look, we're not going to do a big box because we're a company that we're not going to do it unless we design it proper. Like everything has to have a function to it and a reason why we're going to make it. And this is not just like some big box that it's just not going to be a big box that you throw all your crap in. So
I'd love that.
Yeah, that's why I like this company so much. It's like they've only
No,
done 2
a big
games.
box to throw all
Just
my
throw
crap in.
in. He just likes to scoop it all in
well,
there.
I mean,
as you know,
I can understand. I understand where you're going with that. I'm sorry, that went way over my head. But yeah, so they made this announcement out of nowhere that they are doing a big box they reopened up the pledge manager for this latest Vindication Kickstarter, and you could add it to your pledge, and it was going to be delivered at the same time that these expansions were. So, I mean, of course, I was like all hot and heavy. I was probably one of the first people in there.
Oh yeah.
Adding it to my pledge. Surprisingly enough, now the box, it comes with all kinds of new dividers that you can flip one way or the other, so you can choose the type of artwork that you want for like the different types of cards. Everybody's getting new player boards that kind of like click into my mind is drawing a blank now. What are the inserts? The one company that's
game
known
trays?
for like the
Game
game
trays.
trays.
Yeah.
So they're doing like this whole thing with that, and everybody's going to have their own. So like you can open up the box, you hand each person their trays, and it all stacks in there, and it fits inside a calyx like it's supposed to, and it's going to fit everything, like all their past expansions, all their current expansions that are coming out, the entire board, everything but the neoprene mat, which is understandable, but they do have a shoulder sling for that. But just the design of it and the thought that went into it is just, I mean, I'm so ready for everything to deliver on this Kickstarter. But it was just like we actually spent some time and designed it properly, and it's going to have some real function to it.
When game trays are done well, like Eclipse, right, which has the player boards that you just hand out, and the game tray itself is your player board.
Right.
That just looks so cool.
Yeah, it does. And it makes, my feeling is if an insert or like, the parts inside the box, if they can help you set up and tear down faster, that game is going to hit the table more.
Yeah, for sure.
Than,
Well, that's what Broken Token to me is like. That's their whole shtick. That's the whole reason I spend $50 for an insert for a $50 game.
Yeah, the time and the organization and the breakdown and the setup.
It's the passing of and then it creates those component bins for all the pieces.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
now speaking of big boxes, I know Stonemeyer's working on their Wingspan big box.
Yes.
I've got the Scythe big
nesting
box.
they call it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got the side.
But the size big box is just that, a
Just a
place
big
to
box.
dump everything in.
Yeah.
All right, so if I have to criticize that box, I don't understand. And believe me, I have it. I love it. I do have the folded space insert for it and Rise of Fenris, so everything fits in the big box like it should. I haven't played Rise of Fenris yet, so please don't give me any spoilers. But the box itself, when I purchased it, and I knew what I was getting into, but I didn't realize, like, in my opinion, there's just such a lack of thought that went into it. If you're going to give 3 little boxes inside for certain things, you can't even put those. I don't care how you rearrange those boxes. They do not sit in there proper.
No,
like,
they
they're
don't.
not flat. They're just like these boxes. And even though they look nice, they serve no purpose. I would have rather pay $5 less and not have those little boxes inside. Just give me the one big box and I'll figure it out. You know, I was a little disappointed in that, but I mean, in the end, the folded space insert takes care of that. But it's like there's a stark difference. You can tell that Jamie's really taking the time with the Wingspan box.
Yeah.
And he's asking the community, like,
No,
hey,
I've been
if you had a
answering
big
poll
box for this game-
questions.
Yeah.
Right. I've been answering them too. It's like, if I'm going to do this, you know, what would you people like to see in this box? So I think he might have learned, and maybe he wasn't planning on doing a side big box. And it was just like one of those things like, well, you know, people are asking for it. I'll give them a big box.
Yeah.
Whereas with Wingspan, it really does seem like I can't read his mind, but maybe he learned a lesson from the Scythe big box compared to this. So
I think the size big box is just, it's more art before function.
Could be.
correct.
Yeah.
Like, look at the pretty pictures on this giant box.
And it does look great.
Yes, it does.
Now, we'll say Jamie was talking about the nesting box in his last week's weekly chat, and he did talk about, I don't know how much this is affecting things, that they are delayed on getting the nesting box out because of the shipping issues and stuff like that. And I wonder if that delay is what's kind of leading to him taking more time. He's like, well, instead of just sitting here on this box, let me ask the community. So maybe it wasn't completely his intention and his idea, but the extra time seems to be, I know what y'all are talking about with the surveys and things, that it's given him some time to reflect on that a little bit and think, hey, well, might as well use this time to find out what people want. And he actually even talked about the Oceania expansion. I think that was the last one, that they may have an option now where that one expansion, you can order the big box and that expansion as a package deal, get like $10 off because it'll save them on shipping, and they'll go ahead and package that into the nesting box and send it to you.
It's funny because he was talking about that being the issue is shipping empty boxes is just not effective.
That's what he was saying.
It's not cost effective at all, man. Like the Deep Madness Kickstarter, they had like I forget what they called it, but like 2 large boxes, like your typical Monolith, Pantheon, Battles of Pantheon type size boxes. The boxes themselves were, I think, like $40 each. Now, this is just a majority, just an empty box.
Yeah.
So there's 2 of them that you could house everything into it. So you figure $40 per box, and it was like $60-something to ship them, just because of it's the space they take up.
Yep,
Right.
not the weight.
Well, I was
the
going to say,
space.
Jamie
It's
said
the
that
space.
they pay by container when they come over. So he said this container box that came over from China with these in there, I forget how many hundred boxes it was, but he said that I forget how much it was.
They're going to lose money on it.
It was like $12,000 for them just to ship a container of empty boxes from China over to the United States, and then he was saying that they're ready to go. He could send them out now, but he said he's not going to do that to his customers because the amount he would have to charge people in shipping to send them today would be exorbitant. It would cost more than the box itself to ship them. So he said he's holding off in the hopes that in the coming month or so that the prices on shipping will come down, and that
I don't see them going down anytime
That,
soon.
or maybe he can figure out how to fill those boxes with stuff.
Well, that's what I would say. That's when he talked about maybe packaging in one of the last expansion and sending that. He said it won't be a long-term thing, but he said maybe on that first wave that we send out, maybe we could have that as an option, and people could pay 80% of the expansion, and we'll go ahead and just put it in and send it to you,
Right.
and that way it makes it a little more sense that you're not paying to ship the expansion, then you're paying to ship the box. They can just do that.
And you
as
got
a
all that
package.
empty space inside there.
Yeah, and just send it that
I'm curious
way. So.
I'm curious what the logistics would be, and I'm sure they've looked into it. At this point, somebody's had to have looked into it. What's the logistics of having it made in the States?
Yeah,
if
I don't
the
know.
Shipping,
He's talking about that in one of his recent blogs that he did. Was talking about regionalizing production,
right,
as a way to be more eco-friendly, right?
Correct.
Instead of having to pay for container shipping of stuff from one centralized location out to the world, have different manufacturers in different areas and save money on the shipping.
That'd
But
be
that
pretty
conversation,
tough.
Mike, is not going to happen unless the only reason that's going to happen is if this container stuff keeps going on.
Yeah.
Right. If we keep dealing with these issues, that's when they're going to look to see what's the difference in just printing it here.
What are the alternatives? Yeah.
Yeah.
If shipping prices go back down, then that conversation is going to go away
Sure.
because the
True,
manufacturing
and
trade-off.
Right, and maybe it's a risk because you figure if you have to ramp up production in the States, whether it's a warehouse that's doing it already or somebody that's building a warehouse specifically for something like that, by the time it's ready to go, shipping may be back down to normal, and then you're kind of like stuck between this rock and a hard place. Like you've already got it here,
Right.
but the cost is now getting lower, doing it elsewhere. But
The cost overseas is just so much, and I forget what it was. I was listening to something earlier this week, and they were asking, it was some kind of interview. I don't remember where I was listening to it. I don't even remember if it was gaming related, but they asked somebody about the production cost, and they were like, well, why don't you bring it to the U.S.? And they said, no, that's not even, that was laughable. They said it's so much cheaper to have the labor and the manufacturing in China that even with these crazy container prices, it was still way cheaper to do it overseas.
So hard to believe.
Yeah. So they made a comment. They were like, that just tells you how bad it is
ridiculous.
overseas that they're paying these people nothing for their work, and for that to be the case.
Well, this is nothing new. It happens with electronics, and this has been going on for decades.
Yeah, but the change in the conversation is coming also with the green initiatives, right? Because these companies who are becoming more aware of what they're putting out as waste, both energy and product.
That one, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm
that just
look something up while you're talking.
It's going to be a conversation that they have to have. If you're going to espouse attributes of your company of being eco-friendly, you can't continue to do business as you've done before. You've got to make changes. Now it's going to come down on the consumer, us. Right, because if us, the consumer, are asking for them to be more eco-friendly,
willing to pay that extra price,
we're going to have to pay that price.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this one Kickstarter, the guy that did Zaya.
Okay. Yeah.
The Kickstarter, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's ARYDIA, Arida, the paths we dare tread. So
Aridia.
It takes place in this future, but instead of like the dread of all the resources are gone on Earth, the story is we kind of like saved Earth, so everything is like green and more ecologically friendly. But because of the process of what we created to help with that, you have like these strange creatures roaming in these buildings, so it's like this really sprawled out type of adventure type of game. But because he's targeting like a more friendly future, he's actually having the game made ecologically friendly. So he's using like recycled materials. A lot of the tokens are going to be more of a pressed paper, not necessarily paper, but like a biodegradable materials. He's trying to get all the coatings so that everything is 100% biodegradable if it were ever to wind up in a landfill. So, you don't really see this every day. I don't think you see it enough personally.
Stonemeyer's going the same way. Actually, in that chat last week, that was another topic that came up on his live chat. online. Somebody had asked him about that, and he said that I forget what it is, the game they're working on now, he says they are doing that. All of the paper, all of the cards and everything are going to be
cool.
biodegradable. And somebody asked him about, stuff getting wet or whatever. And he said, nope, I've tested it. I got some samples in. I poured water on it. It cleans up just like a normal card would. He said there might be some damage to the card, just like there would for any card.
Right, any other card, right?
Right, but people were asking him about, how about in 10 years, if I put this game away, is it still going to be okay? And he's like, yeah. He goes, there is going to be some level of deterioration, over the long term, but they're looking more towards if it ends up in a landfill somewhere, everything is completely breaks down within, I think he said 3 years or something. The whole game would be completely biodegradable. So that is something that they're moving towards as well. Yeah.
Very cool. So this is definitely not a too many bones type of situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
All that plastic.
Going the opposite. Yeah.
Dude, even the cards are plastic.
Yeah.
Like you play that game in a pool and
Chips
nothing would ever
It'll
happen.
be here
chips
forever.
and-
Be like the Wall-E movie.
Yeah.
All the trash piled up.
There you go.
And get back to Vindication where we started. Carlos, you still haven't played Vindication.
I have
you?
not, but
All
that's
right.
Oh, man, how many games are we going to play Saturday?
Yeah, so we got to bring Vindication. We got to play that. So I just was watching Tom's doing his shelf by shelf review for his collection that they're bringing to all the conventions, and they hit Vindication on the last one.
Really?
And Tom was saying he's got 2 copies of it. He said, I think I'm going to pull 1 copy. He goes, I'll wait for the next couple conventions to see how often it's played. He's like, I don't know the 2, but then he mentioned, he's like, Vindication is one of my all-time favorite games. He goes, this game just isn't played or talked about enough. And I was like, oh, that reminds me. And I mentioned to you, Mike.
I think it was Aaron from Ohio described it, and he did a way better job of giving me the theme than either of you has ever.
Yeah. Well, he gave almost the same explanation we did, but you're just trying to be redeemed.
You're a wretched scumbag.
Yep.
You get tossed overboard for doing bad things. You wash up on an island, and it's all about you either redeeming yourself or not redeeming yourself, but you're
pick.
searching through this island. Right. You get the pick, and
Yeah.
you're
Either good or bad.
You're picking up companions, and you're taking over, you're
No,
controlling
I'm in.
buildings and-
I'm in. It's just the first time I asked Rob about it. All he said was, "I can't remember much, but we took cubes and moved cubes and converted this cube."
Oh, once you play it, you
There is
tell
a
me.
little bit
That's
of
all.
cube pushing.
That is all it's about. And even Aaron from told you that afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, that
And he
is
is
the
a
theme."
themer. He does play theme
Stop your
games.
lying,
Yeah.
man. It is.
All right.
You've got to use your imagination.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll mark that down for the September
Ketchup-a-palooza?
second Saturday.
Yeah.
Wait, no, are we in September? We're in August.
August.
September second Saturday.
Maybe that next month. Yeah.
Because I already got
what
like
is this?
Champions of Midgard, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, The King is Dead.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot.
Oh, you're going to be if the second Saturday in September. You're gone. You're going to be at the Stag
I'll be
Marathon.
playing all kinds of stuff.
We'll have to move the event then.
Just for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably one of us has got to be there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might
We'll
have
see.
to make it a first Saturday.
Yeah. Maybe a first Saturday. Yeah.
All right. Any other topics on the Gamer Jason, Gamer News?
That's all I got.
I'm looking at my list here. Just a couple of movies that I saw, but I don't know if we want to get into that. I don't want to get into a downer thing.
I've had enough with your
Enough downer.
I'll just
Jeez.
touch on the movies real quick, and I'm not even going to go into detail. I'm just going to say what I watched. Mo and Dan talked me into. I've always wanted to see it. I just haven't had the time, and I finally just made the time. So I finally watched Hereditary. I don't know if you guys know this movie.
No.
A couple years
No.
old. All I can say is just watch a trailer for it. You'll recognize it when you see it. So the same director that did that also did a movie called Midsommar.
Okay.
And I ended up watching that a couple of nights ago. And my goodness, man, these movies will mess with your head. They were great movies, don't get me wrong. But Hereditary is, I wouldn't say it's scary. It's more tense. Like the whole movie is just this constant building of tension. And what you think is happening or what the cause is of all this tension ends up being like, there's this, like M. Night Shyamalan, there's a twist at the end.
Oh yeah.
But there's no jump scares in the entire movie. Well, there's maybe one jump scare, but I don't think it's intentional, but it's the lack of things happening quick that makes it more scary and just
Tension.
It just messes with your mind. Yes, you're on the edge of your seat from almost the get-go. But anyway, those were two movies that I watched recently that I probably should have watched earlier, but
Rob's got the
definitely wanna
pictures up on the computer. I'm looking at them with him.
Yeah,
What's the
it's,
setting?
of Hereditary?
Yeah, like time frame
So
wise. Is it
it's
modern?
mostly this. Yeah, it's modern, and I mean, it just I'm not giving anything away because it's in the very beginning of the movie. It's like about this small family, husband, wife, daughter, son. The wife's mother passes away at the beginning of the movie, and it's just this. It just starts out weird from the very beginning, but you think that, hence the title, Hereditary. You're thinking that all these mental issues were passed down, generation to generation, and it ends up being something else. I'll just leave it at that. But
I'm in.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not a scary movie guy. I don't like jump scares and stuff like that, but
And
I do like tense, like mess with your mind type stuff.
there are very tense mess with your mind parts. There is some gruesome things that happen. I wouldn't say it's like gore. It definitely is not a gore type of movie, but there are some things that happen where you're just like, I cannot believe that just happened. Type of scenes where
This war mind type of moments.
if you're into tense movies, watch it.
All right.
And then after you watch it, you're going to be like, what the hell did I just watch? And then I would recommend finding a YouTube video that says Hereditary Explained.
Oh, I love those.
And they will go into all the details and like all the little things that you missed, throughout the entire movie and how this relates to that. And because I watched the movie and I was like, man, I thought I caught like a lot of the things. And then this guy went into detail on like, this particular character and and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally missed that, in the entire movie. And, it just makes you want to go back and watch it again the second time.
Okay.
But it is disturbing. There are some disturbing things going on in that movie. But no jump scares.
7.3 rating on IMDb. That's not too bad.
Rob with the ratings.
Yeah.
He can't help himself.
I always look at the ratings.
The movie was made in.
Yeah, my kids give me a hard time about that.
Published by.
I tell my kids I won't watch it if it's under a certain rating on IMDb. So, all right, 7.3 is not bad.
Is that within your rating?
That's within the range. Yeah,
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, it's not a
pretty
rotten.
good for IMDb, actually.
Yeah, that is
They're
pretty high
usually
rating.
A little harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
I like this segment. I really like this segment because some off the wall stuff comes out of it that like I wouldn't have watched Loki if we didn't have this segment. Like I wasn't gonna give it a second glance.
Yeah.
Did you watch What If yet?
No, I finished Loki up and I haven't started What If yet.
Start on What If. They only have one episode out so far. It just started, and it's pretty good. I like the way that they did it. It's animated, but it's almost like it's kind of like they did 3D animation, but they did it like in a cell shaded type of way, so it looks 3D, but it's really not 3D type of look to it.
Spider-Verse kind of a feel to it. Not that cell shaded.
I mean, not so artsy fartsy. Not that it's a bad thing, because I think that's one of the greatest movies too, that Spider-Verse movie. But it has like that weird. You can't quite place your finger on it, but it works. And a lot of the original actors came back to voice their characters.
Right.
Chris
Sweet.
Evans was not one of the characters. The first episode is Captain. What's her name?
The British.
Yes.
I want to say Connors, but I know it's not Connors, and I'm sure there's plenty of people listening to this
yelling at
me what it is. But basically, it's she ends up getting the serum instead of Captain America. So she ends up being
World War II superhero,
per se. Right? And it's a quick romp, and it's enjoyable because it really does have a lot of the original characters from the movie. So if you've seen the movie, you're going to be very familiar with the characters within that episode.
Cool.
Episode lengths, are they
An hour?
I don't know, maybe 45 minutes if I had to guess.
Yeah, but then you add those MCU intros and outros, and you're down to like 20 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
My goodness, with Loki, like even WandaVision, those outros were so long.
Yeah. All the music and the credits. And
But I
all
love
that.
watching them because I'm trying to find what Easter eggs are in there. I'm trying to read
right.
what's on the typewriter. I'm
Little
trying to.
post-credit things and all that.
Yeah. I love the part in Loki, like in the ending credits, because if you noticed, because they're showing it's like a work environment while the credits are rolling.
Yeah.
They change the photographs every time to what happened in that episode. Yeah, it's like the photographs on the table.
I skipped them all except for the last one. I skipped all of them.
Photographs every time, so it matched.
But that makes sense because with the timeline moving around and totally, man, one of the best MCU series ever.
Yeah, the one
Glad
part
you
that
liked it. Most people haven't, but I'm glad you liked it. Yeah.
No, I liked it too. I would put it like a half. I'd put it like a half step above Falcon and Winter Soldier as far as like the TV series stuff.
Yeah.
I still think it's a distant second to WandaVision in my opinion, but
yeah,
to each his own.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I guess that's going to wrap us up for our third segment with all the mixed up stuff. It's awesome. I love it. It's probably my favorite segment of the show.
Yeah.
We will be back next week for more, publishing these on Sundays. Don't forget the live call-in shows Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. 813-618-7099 is the number. Just call in. Talk to us about what we talked about.
Yeah.
How wrong am I?
Chat about stuff.
With regards to the MCU movie rankings, and help Michael understand which what if character we're talking about here on the call-in show. So we will catch you all next week. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Michael.
And it's a podcast about
how we game.
Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good night.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.